Chapter 934. This man didn't care about Chen Ning at all. His wife had given birth, but he was still working. If she questioned him now, she was afraid that this man would say, "How can I support you if I don't work?" Anyway, he acted as if having a job was so great and looked down on her. If you can't support your family, why did you marry a wife and have children? The Yin family just needed a daughter-in-law to carry on the family line. They didn't treat Chen Ning as an equal, especially since Chen Ning didn't do anything at home and relied on N Jinwei to support her. And Jinwei saw that Ning Shu was staring at him, and his eyes were a little sharp. He asked uncomfortably, "Does it still hurt? What's the pain?" "There's a pain stick." And Jinwei's mother immediately said, "You don't know how to be thrifty at home." And Jinwei pursed his lips and didn't say anything. He looked at the baby in the crib and touched the baby's face with his fingers. There was a little joy on his face. And Jinwei stayed in the ward for a while. He raised his wrist to look at his watch, and said that he was going to work. He also told Ning Shu to have a good rest. Cold man and cold in-laws. This family was indifferent and selfish. No, this indifference was only directed at Chen Ning, the daughter-in-law. Chen Ning's existence was to give birth, raise, and take care of the baby. She also had to solve N Jinwei's physical needs. Other than that, she didn't have her own life and didn't need any independent life. In this marriage that outsiders thought was suitable, only Chen Ning could understand the pain in it. Ning Shu silently chanted the mind-clearing mantra in his heart. He calmed down a little, and then began to cultivate the ultimate martial arts. However, the spirit energy in modern times was scarce, and in a hospital where patients gathered, the spirit energy was even less. Ning Shu cultivated for a whole night, and only managed to cultivate a little bit of Qi Jin. This was with the help of the martial arts value and the ultimate martial arts. There was so little spirit energy. Ning Shu used all his Qi Jin to repair the wound in his abdomen. It was really painful. To go to the toilet, he had to get up slowly. He didn't dare to use his abdomen at all. Ning Shu didn't expect that he would be so weak one day. This body had suffered from postpartum depression, tinnitus, loss of appetite, and little milk. But N Jinwei's mother still insisted that Ning Shu breastfeed her. She said that the milk powder was a few hundred yuan a can, and that the milk was not enough for the children to eat. So she refused to feed them milk powder. Ning Shu just wanted to curse, but he didn't have any money in his hands. She had never received N Jinwei's salary. Even when she wanted to buy groceries, she had to ask his mother for it. The economic foundation determined the superstructure. If one's economy could not be independent, how could one be independent with dignity? Ning Shu tried his best to eat more every day. Moreover, the food was bought from a small restaurant outside the hospital. It was uncertain if the hygiene could be guaranteed, but it was not nutritious and the soup was very bland. How could there be enough milk in this way? To think that a virgin like her would suddenly have to relieve herself to breastfeed the child. This was so shameful that Ning Shu really wanted to cover his face and run away. Now, she really regretted accepting this mission. Ning Shu suddenly understood the pain and torment involved. Some mission enforcers had directly killed this family. After the child was born, N Jinwei's father came to the hospital to take a look. Then he went back to play chess and cards with the old man in the neighborhood. N Jinwei's mother was not too willing to take care of the little girl. So Ning Shu hugged the child and slept with her. Last time, Ning Shu really saw the indifference and cruelty in this woman's bones. She actually treated her own granddaughter like this. She was also a woman. After staying in the hospital for 3 days, N Jinwei's mother, her mother-in-law, wanted to let her leave the hospital. After 3 days, the stitches could not be removed. N Jinwei's mother rushed to bring Ning Shu home to do her confinement. Staying in the hospital was a waste of money. Ning Shu lay on the bed and ignored her. The doctor said that she could only leave the hospital after the stitches were removed. Only then did she give up on the idea of leaving the hospital. However, her mouth kept muttering about how much it would cost. She didn't know if it was because N Jinwei's mother's actions last time scared the child, but Nanan kept crying and crying all night long. This made the people next to her have opinions. And Jinwei's mother was even more impatient, and directly scolded the child for being a troublemaker. Ning Shu asked her to change the diaper or wash the child's butt, so that the urine would not stain the child's skin. but she was not willing to do either. Ning Shu suspected that this child was not her granddaughter. What kind of heart did she have to ignore and be impatient with her own granddaughter? This was a child that was related to her by blood. Was it because Nan was not a boy? What era was it now? People like Jinwei's mother were the malignant supporters of feudal thinking. When Jinwei came to see Ning Shu and the child cried until Jinwei's head hurt. Jinwei did not even stay in bed with her. Every time Jinwei came to the hospital, Jinwei's mother told him to go back. She said that he had to go to work the next day and could not be too tired. So, Jinwei's daily routine was like completing a mission. He just came to the hospital to take a look. Ning Shu took a deep breath. Her head was dizzy as she lay on her side to coax the child. She silently chanted the clear heart mantra, hoping to calm the child's frightened heart. Ning Shu's tears fell as she chanted. She did not want to cry, but the tears fell. Her sad and depressed mood was like a dark cloud that could not see the light of day, shrouding her heart and unable to be dispelled. Ning Shu curled the corner of her mouth and tried to smile. Even if she wanted to cry, she wanted to cry with a smile. The exhaustion of her body had already infected her mind and soul. Despair was like a virus, invading her body and soul. Ning Shu chanted the clear heart mantra and gently patted the child with one hand. The child sobbed, but at least she fell asleep. After the child fell asleep, Ning Shu closed her eyes and began to cultivate. No matter what, the most important thing was her own body. Without a healthy body, everything was useless. Her body was drenched in sweat. Especially now that it was summer, she had not taken a shower since the C-section, so her body was full of the smell of sweat. Jinwei's mother was not willing to wipe the child's butt. How could she wipe the sweat on her body for her? How could a mother-in-law serve her daughter-in-law? It was a beautiful dream. On the 6th day after delivery, Ning Shu removed the stitches and could be discharged from the hospital. Jinwei came to the hospital to pick up Ning Shu and her mother. Ning Shu wore 2 more clothes, a coat, and a hat to cover herself. She was the one who suffered from the disease of confinement. Others didn't care at all. Back home, Ning Shu made water to wipe the sweat on her body. Then she began to do the confinement. She planned the future while she was doing the confinement. At home, Ning Shu once again saw the neglect of the family. A pregnant woman like her should eat some soft, easy to digest and nutritious food. But what the family ate, they gave her a bowl of rice and vegetables. Ning Shu sneered, picked up the bowl and chewed carefully. She could not wrong herself. Chapter 935. On the 2nd day of discharge, Chun Ning's mother's family came over to deliver some gifts, such as eggs and pork legs. Chun Ning's mother sat by the bed and looked at the baby in the crib. She said to Ning Shu, "It's okay. Take care of your body and give birth to a second child." Ning Shu was speechless. Giving birth was so tiring. She was physically and mentally exhausted, and she was talking about giving birth to a second child. Was she really his biological mother? "We'll talk about it when the time comes," Ning Shu said lightly. "You're my daughter. I'll definitely love you. But women still have to give birth to a boy to have status at home," Chun Ning's mother said. Ning Shu let out a long breath. They were all women. Didn't they know that giving birth to a child was harmful to the body? For example, after being stabbed, these people were anxious to discuss how to stab again next time. At least wait until the wound healed and the body forgot the pain. Under such circumstances, Ning Shu's heart was stifled. "Mom, do you have money? Lend me some money." Ning Shu changed the topic. Chun Ning's mother frowned. "What do you need money for? Jinwei doesn't have money. The family doesn't have money to give you. Your brother is dating now. He's preparing to get married. The money is used to decorate the new house," Chun Ning's mother said. Ning Shu grinned. This was a woman. After marriage, she was an outsider in her mother's family and in her husband's family. Neither side had a foothold. "Daughter, take care of your body. You have to tell your mother-in-law what you want to eat." Chun Ning's mother didn't want to talk about money. After 3 years, the wound has completely healed. Give birth to a son for the family. Ning Shu lay on the bed and didn't speak. Chun Ning's mother thought for a while and put 200 yuan beside Ning Shu's pillow. she said. Buy whatever you want to eat. Thank you, Ning Shu said lightly. Chen Ning's mother talked to Ning Shu for a while. Seeing that Ning Shu didn't respond, she left. Before she left, she touched the child's face. When Jinwei came back at night, Ning Shu said to Jinwei, I want to drink pig trotter soup. There's not enough milk for the child. Jinwei didn't say anything, and went out of the bedroom to talk to his mother. Jinwei's mother immediately said loudly, We don't have any pig trotters at home. My mom just sent some eggs and pig trotters over this morning. Why are there no more? Ning Shu said to Jinwei, who had just entered the house. Jinwei frowned and sounded a little annoyed. Mom, just do some for her. She's making so much noise as soon as she comes back. It's really unsettling. Work is tiring, and when she comes back, she still has to face these trivial matters. In reality, Jinwei was also reprimanding Ning Shu for being a busybody. Ning Shu's expression didn't change, but he was laughing in his heart. Behind every chuckle were countless galloping grass mud horses. She gave birth to your children, and you're still behaving like this when you just want a bowl of soup. A man who was spoiled by his parents, cold and selfish, was a straight man with cancer. Other than work, he basically didn't know how to do anything when he came back. He could really be said to be able to open his mouth and stretch out his hand for food. Just because of work, it was as if everyone had to give in to him. As if work was a big deal. I let you take care of the children at home, do the laundry, cook, and clean. But when I went to work, you couldn't even do it for a day. There was no such thing in the past. Back then, I had to work for 3 days after giving birth. Now I'm lying in bed and still have to eat this and that. Jinwei's mother said unhappily. There was some impatience between Jinwei's brows. Clearly, he was a little dissatisfied with Ning Shu, who had started the topic. She was so troublesome all the time. In Jinwei's heart, his wife should settle everything so that he could go to work without any worries and go home to have a good rest. Ning Shu ignored Jinwei and coaxed the child. Only when her emotions were stable could the child feel safe and not cry every day. She would also be relaxed. There was a bowl of pig trotter soup for dinner, but there wasn't much meat, just a little fatty skin. There was no lean meat. Ning Shu smiled and took the bowl out of the room. When he reached the dining table, he saw a pot of pig trotters and hind legs in the middle of the table. Ning Shu poured a bowl of soup into the pot and scooped up a bowl of meat. At the dining table, the Yin family stared at Ning Shu in a daze. Ning Shu picked up a piece of meat with his fingers and stuffed it into his mouth. Jinwei frowned. What are you doing? Eating. It doesn't make sense for you to eat meat while I drink soup. Otherwise, everyone should stop playing. Ning Shu licked the oil on his fingers. You're really? Jinwei looked at Ning Shu, whose face was covered in oil, with disdain. He was very dissatisfied with Ning Shu, who was causing trouble. Chen Ning, the elders are still at the table. How can you do this? Jinwei's mother looked dissatisfied. If there were guests and you were like this, the Yin family's face would be lost by you. Even if you don't have face, the Yin family still has face. Ning Shu didn't use chopsticks. He picked up the meat with his hands and ate. Hearing his mother-in-law's words, he said, Believe me, when I see you eating fish and meat, I can only drink soup. I really want to flip the table. Maybe I will flip the table next time. Zhang Ning, are you crazy? How dare you talk like that? Jinwei's mother was so angry that her whole body was trembling. She felt that her dignity was being challenged. Actually, do you know that I'm sick? Ning Shu had a strange look on his face. I have severe postpartum depression. Maybe I will do something uncontrollable. Actually, flipping the table is a small matter. I'm just afraid that I will do something harmful. Ning Shu tilted his head and said with a smile. Ning Shu was smiling at Jinwei. Ning Shu's smile contained a bone-chilling coldness. Although his face was smiling brightly, it made Jinwei's heart skip a beat. He actually had a thought in his mind. His wife was really sick. Why are you making a fuss? Do you have to make a mess at home? The father-in-law, who usually didn't care about the family matters, spoke. He looked at Ning Shu and said, As a daughter-in-law, you should act like a daughter-in-law and work hard to create a stable and peaceful family. Ning Shu cracked his mouth and smiled silently. This kind of stability and peace was maintained by making others suffer grievances and sacrifice. Once there was a demand, it would be a murderer who destroyed the harmony of the family. The father and son were the same. They both expected others to handle things well. If there was any grievance, they would endure it. They were the emperor. This kind of peace was maintained by sacrificing some people. And Chen Ning was the one who was sacrificed in this family. Dedication and sacrifice were not respected. They thought that this was what they should do. What were they protecting? Ning Shu covered his heart. I'm so sad and angry. I want to flip the table. As Ning Shu spoke, he lifted the table with his hand. When he lifted it, the bowls and chopsticks on the table slid to the side. And Jinwei's parents' faces turned green. And Jinwei reached out to pull Ning Shu away. Ning Shu let go of his hand, and the table shook. The soup on the table splashed, making the dishes on the table a mess. And Jinwei's mother was closer to the soup bowl. When Ning Shu lifted the table and put it on the table, the soup in the bowl splashed on her. She immediately jumped up and quickly took a piece of paper to wipe the soup off her body. Chapter 936. Chen Ning, I think you've taken the wrong medicine. How dare you do this? And Jinwei's mother stared angrily at Ning Shu with her eyes wide open. The dress she was wearing was very expensive. At the same time, it was also somewhat unbelievable. Chen Ning's personality was not bad. She basically had no major problems. She was also very active in her work. Even when she was pregnant, she would do some light work. But now it was really unbearable. At the same time, she was very angry. When was it her turn to make a scene in this family? Chen Ning, what's wrong with you? What's the point of making a scene like this? And Jinwei frowned tightly and felt very embarrassed. What are you thinking? I really regret marrying you. Ning Shu said. I also regret marrying you. You eat meat, I drink soup, and I have to feed the baby. I'm so angry. I'm so miserable. Ning Shu took the bowl on the table with both hands and smashed it on the ground. Suddenly, the porcelain and soup splashed. Ah! And Jinwei's mother screamed. She was shocked by Ning Shu's sudden action. And Jinwei dodged the shards and looked at Ning Shu impatiently. When are you going to stop being unreasonable? Wah wah wah. In the bedroom, Nan Nan also burst into tears. Why don't you go and see the baby? And Jinwei said to Ning Shu. The baby was woken up by you. Ning Shu picked up the plate on the table and smashed it on the ground. It was you who woke her up, but you insist that I woke her up. Ning Shu took his bowl and scooped up the last bit of meat in the bowl. He took the bowl back to the bedroom and closed the bedroom door, leaving the few people in the living room with ugly expressions. Ning Shu put the bowl on the bed and slowly coaxed the baby. The baby gradually calmed down, probably because he smelled his mother's scent. In addition, Ning Shu was in a very good mood now. The baby seemed to be aware of Ning Shu's happy mood. He rubbed against Ning Shu's arms and stopped crying. Ning Shu coaxed the child while eating meat. When Jinwei came in, he saw Ning Shu with his mouth full of meat. His appearance was extremely ugly. Ning Shu glanced at him, completely ignoring Jinwei's disdainful expression. She had not been able to exchange for a fasting pill for this mission. Cultivating a peerless martial art required energy. If she did not eat her fill, how would she have the energy to cultivate? What's more, Ning Shu had to heal the wounds on his body with the little bit of qi gene he cultivated. He also had to send some of it to the child's body to strengthen the child's body. If the child was healthy, he would not fall sick easily. Chen Ning, you shouldn't have done that. And Jinwei walked to Ning Shu's bedside and said, You are my wife. You have to consider my reputation in everything you do. Your behavior just now made me very embarrassed. They are my parents. You should respect them. Ning Shu swallowed the meat in his mouth. They're not my parents. I didn't grow up eating your rice. How can you talk like that? Since you married into the Yin family, my parents are your parents. And Jinwei looked dissatisfied. You didn't grow up eating the Yin family's food. But since you married into the Yin family, you're eating the Yin family's food. You are now being raised by the Yin family. You can't be so willful. And Jinwei said, I hope today's incident will not happen again. Ning Shu raised his head. tilted his head and stared straight at Jinwei without saying a word. I'm talking to you. Jinwei said. Ningxu covered the child's ears with one hand and pressed the child into his arms. Then slap. Ningxu reached out his other greasy hand and slapped Jinwei. Jinwei's face was slapped to the side, and his glasses fell to the ground. Jinwei seemed to be stunned by the slap and did not react for a long time. Ningxu looked at his hand in disbelief and apologized with a crying face. Honey, I'm sorry. I couldn't control myself. Does your face hurt? I'm sorry. I don't know why I did it. My mind was blank when I hit you. You must forgive me. Ningxu squeezed out 2 drops of tears. Jinwei turned his head, and his nostrils were trembling with anger. Chen Ning, did you do it on purpose? No, I didn't do it on purpose. Ningxu shook his head and blinked his eyes desperately. Tears came out of his eyes as he grabbed the corner of Jinwei's clothes. You must forgive me. I didn't do it on purpose. You have to believe me. You have to believe me. If you don't believe me, I feel so bad. Ningxu reached out his foot and kicked Jinwei's bedside lamp to the ground. Immediately, glass and plastic shards were scattered all over the floor. When he kicked, Ningxu tried his best to cover the child's ears. The other side was against his stomach, so he did not scare the child. Jinwei stared at Ningxu dumbfoundedly, then looked at the mess on the ground. You're simply a lunatic. I'm sorry, Jinwei. My heart hurts. Don't do this to me. I can't control myself. I'm so sad, so sad. Ningxu opened his mouth and howled. Jinwei's face trembled. The half of his face that was slapped by Ningxu was red. Jinwei glared at Ningxu and slammed the door. Ningxu wiped the tears from his face and hummed a song to the child. Bang. The bedroom door opened again. Jinwei's mother rushed in angrily. She pointed at Ningxu and scolded. Who do you think you are? How dare you hit your husband? Ningxu covered the child's ears and looked wronged. Grandma, I didn't do it on purpose. Sometimes I can't control my behavior. I'm really sick. You. Jinwei pointed at Ningxu and saw the shards on the floor. Is the lamp free? How long has it been used? You're a prodigal woman. You broke the plate and the lamp. Do you want to tear down this house? Ningxu shook his head. No, I can't move the sofa. Grandma, take me to the hospital. I think I'm very sick. Maybe I accidentally killed you. You know, I can't control myself. Ningxu carried the child and walked 2 steps towards Jinwei's mother. Jinwei's mother immediately retreated. Her voice trembled as she said, Don't scare people. I'm telling you, don't be a demon. Ningxu took 2 more steps towards her. Jinwei's mother immediately retreated 2 steps. Ningxu felt wronged and said, Grandma, I've never lied. I feel so tired. The world in my eyes has no color. Your face is so ugly, twisted, fierce and ugly. You're a vicious old woman. Are you scolding me in a roundabout way? Jinwei's mother was furious. What, you don't believe me? Ningxu immediately raised his eyebrows and looked very irritable. You're an old witch. I'm telling the truth. Why don't you believe me? Ningxu walked step by step towards Jinwei's mother. Chapter 937. Ningxu walked towards Jinwei's mother with an indifferent expression. Jinwei's mother was a little frightened by Ningxu's appearance. She swallowed, but she didn't want to lose her dignity as a mother-in-law. She pointed at Ningxu and said, Chen Ning, I'm telling you, don't pretend to be crazy. I'm not pretending to be crazy, Ningxu said with a miserable expression. Mother-in-law, you have to save me. I'm in so much pain. You. Jinwei's mother was stunned by Ningxu's behavior. Chen Ning, I'm telling you, if you continue to be like this, I'll ask Jinwei to divorce you. What did you say? Ningxu looked at Jinwei's mother with an expressionless face. Who did you say you want Jinwei to divorce? Ningxu stared at her. I didn't hear what you said. Ningxu walked quickly to Jinwei's mother. What did you say? Jinwei's mother turned and ran out of the bedroom. Ningxu rolled his eyes. She bullied the weak and feared the strong. That was why kind people were often bullied. If they were fierce, they wouldn't dare to do anything to you. Ningxu locked the bedroom door. When the door was closed, Ningshu hissed. His wound hurt a little. Ningshu fed the baby milk and placed him in the crib. He sat cross-legged on the bed and began to cultivate. He had to cultivate more qijin to repair his body. He couldn't do it without martial arts. He was afraid that this family would tie him up as a lunatic in the future. If he wasn't comfortable, no one would be able to live well. Ningshu wouldn't be like Chen Ning, crying silently and enduring silently, hoping to receive the care of a cold-hearted husband. She couldn't suffer alone. It was better if she wasn't good, if she wasn't good, if everyone wasn't good. And Jinwei's mother, who was scared away by Ningshu, said to her husband, "This daughter-in-law is really turning the world upside down. She even called me an old witch. I was really deceived by her back then. I didn't expect her to be such a person." And Jinwei's mother was so angry that her face turned green. Chen Ning wasn't like this in the past. Chen Ning used to be very obedient. Don't tell me you think you can be so smug just because you gave birth to a little girl. And Jinwei's mother complained to her husband endlessly. "That's enough. Don't talk so much. I'm annoyed." And Jinwei's father said angrily. And Jinwei's mother immediately shut her mouth, looking a little wronged. And Jinwei's mother then looked at Jinwei, who was sitting on the sofa, and said, "You have to teach your wife a lesson. Which family's daughter-in-law is like this? She even dares to hit her husband. What else does she want from us?" And Jinwei pursed his lips tightly. Half of his face that had been slapped by Ningshu was a little swollen. He looked impatient. "At first, you guys said that Chen Ning's character was not bad, that you could marry her and take care of her family. I listened to you guys, but now Chen Ning is like a crazy woman." Hearing her son's scolding, and Jinwei's mother also felt wronged. How would I know that she was like this? After she got pregnant, her nature was exposed. She had been pretending before. She felt that after having a child and gaining a foothold in the Yin family, she started to be arrogant and despotic, and Jinwei's mother said. And Jinwei thought for a moment. "Tomorrow is the weekend anyway. Take her to the hospital to see if she's really crazy." And Jinwei's expression was very dissatisfied. Chen Ning had hit him and still hadn't come to apologize to him. He worked hard to support the mother and daughter. He worked hard for this family and still caused trouble all day long. What illness can she have? She's just pretending to be crazy. And Jinwei's mother rolled her eyes and said. And Jinwei ignored Jinwei's mother's nagging and prepared to go to the bedroom to talk to Ningshu about going to the hospital tomorrow for a checkup. He also wanted him to apologize to him. However, the door was locked. And Jinwei's expression changed. What was this person doing in the room? And Jinwei asked his mother to find the key. When he opened the door, he saw the mother and daughter lying on the bed sleeping comfortably. And Jinwei didn't think that he was an angry person, but he was so angry that he rudely shook Ningshu awake. Ningshu opened her eyes and stared straight at Jinwei. "You're hurting my wound. It hurts a lot." And Jinwei let go of Ningshu's shoulder and said, "Go to the hospital tomorrow for a checkup. I'm still in confinement. I can't be exposed to the wind. What if I get a disease during confinement?" Ningshu asked. "Now you're awake." And Jinwei's voice was sarcastic. Ningshu's face flushed red. She lowered her head and said shyly, "My mother said that I have to take good care of my body and give birth to a son for you." "It's still early to give birth to a son." And Jinwei said impatiently, "What?" Ningshu immediately straightened her back. "Don't you want to have a son with me? Are you going to listen to your mother and divorce me?" Ningshu's expression was cold and sarcastic. Then she curled her lips. "I know you dislike me for not giving birth to a son for you." And Jinwei looked at Ningshu's behavior. Dark clouds rose in his heart. This woman was too fickle. "Go to the hospital tomorrow." And Jinwei said and left the room. Anyway, he didn't stay at home. He didn't know if he went to work or somewhere else. Ningshu shrugged her shoulders. It didn't matter. Anyway, she had severe postpartum depression. Ningshu got out of bed and walked to the bedroom door. She said to Jinwei's mother, "I'm hungry. I want to eat meat." "We just had lunch, and you're hungry again. Where did you eat so much?" And Jinwei's mother saw that her daughter-in-law was ordering her around. It was really overturning the sky. The lowest person in the family actually commanded her like this. A daughter-in-law had to command her mother-in-law to do things. Ning Shu said, "I'm in confinement now. I can't be hungry during confinement. You know, I have to feed Nan Nan. How can I feed the baby if I'm not full?" "Don't you want to give me food?" Ning Shu asked with a frown. "Why don't you give me food? I'm hungry, very hungry. Mother-in-law, do you want to starve me to death?" Ning Shu's face was aggrieved. "Get her something to eat. It's really annoying." And Jinwei's father went out with his hands on his back. There were only mother-in-law, daughter-in-law and a child who didn't know anything at home. "Mother-in-law, I want to eat meat," Ning Shu said to Jinwei's mother. She turned around and closed the door. Then she began to cultivate. And Jinwei's mother was so angry that she had to serve her daughter-in-law. When she was a daughter-in-law, she served her mother-in-law well. How unlucky she was to meet such a daughter-in-law. And Jinwei's mother has a sense of superiority. She is already a mother-in-law, so her daughter-in-law will serve her well in the future. When you marry into the family, you have to follow the rules of the family. She gave birth to a girl and expected her to serve her daughter-in-law. And Jinwei's mother felt that her dignity as a mother-in-law had been insulted. Chapter 938. Ning Shu used all his qi to repair the wound on his abdomen. If a man saw a hole in the belly to take out the baby, he would probably be scared out of his mind. Men still took the pain of pregnancy for granted. Your role was to give birth to the baby, take care of the baby, and then solve the man's physiological needs. Other than that, you had no other role. You didn't need to have your own life. Because of the spiritual energy, Ning Shu's wound healed very quickly. Now he could run around the house without any problem. However, Ning Shu wouldn't look for trouble. He would do it comfortably during the confinement period. He wouldn't get better so quickly to serve the family. The point was that the other party might not be grateful even if he served them. Ning Shu looked at the baby in the crib and sighed. And Jinwei's mother knocked on Ning Shu's door when she finished cooking. And Jinwei's mother made a pot of meat, but Ning Shu ate it all, which made Jinwei's mother stunned. Ning Shu burped, feeling his stomach slowly squirming, and a warm feeling spread to his limbs. "You eat a lot but don't do anything. Which daughter-in-law is like you? The Yin family is really unlucky to have married a daughter-in-law like you." And Jinwei's mother couldn't help scolding. Anyway, the relationship between the mother-in-law and daughter-in-law was quite tense now. And the Yin family didn't like her, because she was disobedient, not virtuous, and a troublemaker. Ning Shu turned a deaf ear to Jinwei's mother's scolding. He closed the bedroom door, and went back to his room to cultivate. First he changed the baby's diaper. Because of what happened during the day, and Jinwei was quite dissatisfied with Ning Shu. He didn't even enter the bedroom and slept in another room. He wanted to torture Ning Shu by ignoring the Cold War. In addition, there was a baby in the bedroom. A woman who didn't bathe much during confinement and breastfeeding. The smell was really bad. The baby had to wake up several times a night and couldn't sleep at all. Ning Shu didn't care about Jinwei's attitude at all. "You can do whatever you want. It's as if I want to sleep on the same bed as you. Without you sleeping beside me, I can cultivate more quickly." This was the cold violence that the Yin family liked to use the most. Once they were dissatisfied with you, they would ignore you and not give you a good look. They would put the entire family in a low-pressure environment until you couldn't take it anymore and admitted your mistake. Early the next morning, the Yin family took Ning Shu to have her nerves checked to see if she was crazy for going crazy at the slightest provocation. Perhaps it was related to the family's future decisions. This time, even Jinwei's father went with him. The family of three walked in front while Ning Shu pushed the stroller behind them. They were a family, while she was an outsider. She felt that Chen Ning's existence was to serve this family. However, the Yin family's attitude was still high and mighty. "If you don't have a job, the Yin family will feed you. Do the housework. That's what you should do. You should do what a daughter-in-law should do. Who asked you to rely on the Yin family?" Damn, it felt like the Yin family was raising a servant, and they didn't even pay him a salary. The group took a car to the hospital and arrived at the obstetrics and gynecology department. The doctor asked about Ning Shu's situation. "How do you feel?" "I feel very tired and I want to cry." I'm sad for no reason. I can't control my temper. I'm worried about the child's health and the child's future. I'm very irritable and I'm very depressed. I'm afraid that my husband will divorce me because I didn't give birth to a son." Hearing Ning Shu's words, the doctor couldn't help but shake his head. "Is your diet normal?" "I eat a lot. I can't control myself, but I'm afraid of getting fat. I'm afraid that my husband will divorce me because I'm fat," Ning Shu said with a hollow gaze. And Jinwei heard that Ning Shu was afraid of divorcing him, which made him very irritated. It was as if a rock was pressing down on him, making him very unhappy. He felt like he was dragging a big burden. And Jinwei's mother looked a little proud. She was not a woman. Women were all afraid of being abandoned by men. And Jinwei's mother had a feeling in her heart that she wanted her son to abandon her. Seeing her abandoned and pitiful look, begging not to abandon her, just thinking about it made Jinwei's mother feel an inexplicable sense of pleasure in her heart. Chun Ning, who had given birth to a child, was too outrageous. She needed to be taught a good lesson. Hearing Ning Shu's words and looking at Ning Shu's absent-minded face, the doctor couldn't help but shake his head and say, "The mother has severe postpartum depression. This is a kind of depression that is not neurological." And Jinwei didn't want to hear this kind of professional jargon. He only cared about whether it could be cured. Can it be cured? Generally, there's no need for drug treatment. It's just a psychological intervention for the mother to keep her in a good mood, the doctor said. And Jinwei frowned tightly with a look of impatience. He married a woman to take care of everything at home, but now she had this kind of illness. She had some delicate postpartum depression. She didn't do anything and still wanted to keep her in a good mood. And Jinwei already felt that his wife's mood was particularly changeable. Maybe she would explode at any time. Irritated, the woman not only couldn't take care of things at home, but also had to be treated like an ancestor. What was this called? And Jinwei was dissatisfied, and so were the old couple of the Yin family. Coming out of the hospital, the family was silent. Ning Shu pushed the baby carriage and whispered to Jinwei, "Jinwei, you won't divorce me, will you?" And Jinwei frowned tightly and didn't say anything. "You won't divorce me, will you?" Ning Shu asked again, as if she had to get an answer. And Jinwei looked at the aggressive Ning Shu. She seemed to be holding back her anger, which made Jinwei very annoyed and disgusted. She interrogated him like a prisoner. "Jinwei, you won't abandon us, will you?" Ning Shu looked at Jinwei's constipated face, held back her laughter and asked anxiously, "I won't." And Jinwei's voice almost came out from between his teeth. He was unwilling and had a perfunctory tone. Ning Shu smiled and nodded happily. "I knew you wouldn't divorce me. You wouldn't abandon me and my daughter." And Jinwei felt that his whole person was not very good. And in Jinwei's view, depression was mental illness. If other people and colleagues in the company knew that his wife was mentally ill, where would he put his face? How would he stand in the company and face the strange gazes of his colleagues? And Jinwei was extremely irritated. In his heart, he was abnormally annoyed and impatient with Ning Shu. He even felt disgusted with his own daughter. And Jinwei actually didn't have any deep feelings for his daughter. He didn't change the baby's diaper and put her down after holding her for a while, because the child was surrounded by an unfamiliar smell. When he held her, the child felt very insecure and cried. After a while, Jinwei didn't hold Nan Nan, giving birth to a daughter with depression, and he didn't know when she would get better. If it continued like this, not only would he be busy with work, he would also have to raise a useless burden. Chapter 939. Ever since Ning Shu was diagnosed with severe postpartum depression, the atmosphere in the Yin family had been very anxious. And Jinwei was even more impatient with Ning Shu. When he saw Ning Shu, he frowned and didn't even say a word to Ning Shu. It was fine if he didn't talk to Ning Shu, but Jinwei didn't care about his daughter at all. Ever since the child was born, Ning Shu had taken care of the child alone. Moreover, because of Ning Shu's qi gene, the child ate and slept well every day. She would only cry when she felt uncomfortable. Therefore, the child didn't have much of a presence in the Yin family. In order to prevent Ning Shu from going crazy, Jinwei said to his mother as soon as he returned home from the hospital, "Tie her up." Ning Shu, who was holding the child, was speechless. There was nothing that couldn't be done. And Jinwei's mother, Ningshu, snorted and went to find a rope. There was no rope, so she tied Ningshu with the leather wire of the electric plug. Ningshu immediately curled her lips. And Jinwei, how can you do this to me? I'm a patient, not a lunatic. You are a lunatic, and Jinwei said impatiently with a cold expression. Ningshu was speechless. Ningshu held the child and leaned against the child's back. She injected some qi jin into the child's body and made the child fall asleep. Then, she placed the child in the pram. Ningshu looked at the family members who were glaring at her and asked coldly, "Do you have to do this to me? I'm doing this for your own good. You're making everyone uncomfortable. I have to go to work every day. I can't let you make me so tired that I can't go to work the next day." And Jinwei said, "I'm the only one supporting the family now. Not only can you not take care of the family, but you're also causing trouble." And Jinwei looked at Ningshu. "Do you know how much pressure I'm under? I live like a dog in the company, and I have to face a mess at home. Can you think for me?" Ningshu was speechless. If she thinks for you, she deserves it. She's such a selfish person. This kind of husband was not someone who would share trials and tribulations. This kind of postpartum depression depended on the mother's mediation. He just needed to show some concern and help coax the child when it cried. It was such a simple matter. Once something happened, and Jinwei would first consider his own gains and losses, his reputation, and his career. Moreover, Ningshu could tell that Jinwei still wanted a divorce. There were so many women in the world. He could just marry another one. He would find someone to help him tidy up the house. Once the house was done, he would be able to enjoy himself after work. Their status was even lower than that of nannies. At the very least, nannies paid them. They worked for free and had to warm the bed, give birth to children, and call people who were not their own parents their parents. "When you recover, we won't lock you up or tie you up," and Jinwei said. Ningshu was dumbfounded and didn't know what to say. How could he get better with such treatment? Ningshu could only kneel and write the word respect. Ningshu quickly walked in front of Jinwei. He raised his leg and kicked Jinwei's crotch. He had had enough of this selfish man. Men were calculative people. If a woman calculates something, a man calculates something that can destroy a person. Ugh. And Jinwei was kicked in the crotch by Ningshu. His eyes turned white, and he fell to the ground. He curled up like a shrimp with his legs between his legs and made a sound. "Jinwei, how could you do this to me? I'm so sad." Ningshu grabbed Jinwei's face. The veins on Jinwei's forehead bulged. He could not speak a complete sentence. He was panting heavily. "Bitch, how dare you hit my son?" And Jinwei's mother picked up the wire and whipped it at Ningshu. Ningshu dodged and the wire ended up hitting Jinwei. And Jinwei cried out in pain. His face was ferocious and his eyes were filled with hostility. He reached out his hand and grabbed Ningshu's ankle. With a forceful pull, Ningshu's body fell to the ground with a loud thud. Ningshu groaned. He felt the knife wound on his stomach hurt. And Jinwei grabbed Ningshu's ankle tightly. "I gave you face, but you didn't want it. I can't bear a woman like you. I want you to pay the price. Hurry up and tie her up. She's going crazy again." And Jinwei shouted at his mother. And Jinwei's mother immediately tied Ningshu with the wire. Ningshu punched Jinwei's mother in the eye. She was in so much pain that she cried out. And Jinwei was so angry that he wanted to die. His lower body was in pain. He grabbed Ningshu's ankle and dug his thumbnail deep into Ningshu's flesh. He even used all his strength to cut open her skin. Ningshu's ankle immediately started bleeding. And Jinwei's expression was abnormally ferocious with hatred. And Jinwei did not have any feelings for Chen Ning. Their marriage was the result of the elders of the two families. Now this woman was so insensible. And Jinwei hated Ningshu. With such a woman, he did not know how many strange looks he would receive. For a moment, and Jinwei really wanted this woman to disappear. Ningshu kicked Jinwei's hand with her other foot. And Jinwei's hand was broken by Ningshu's kick. And Jinwei's father, who had been watching from the sidelines, also made a move to suppress Ningshu. Ningshu mobilized the qi jin in her body, and kicked hard at Jinwei's hand that was holding her. and Jinwei's hand immediately made a subtle cracking sound. And Jinwei's hand was numb from the pain. He did not have the strength to grab Ningxu's ankle. Ningxu turned over and got up from the ground. She directly picked up the fruit plate on the coffee table and threw it on the ground. Then with a bang, she overturned the coffee table. The marble coffee table was broken into pieces. You are simply. And Jinwei's mother pointed at Ningxu. Her face was twitching with heartache. Her eyes were dark, rebellious. And Jinwei's mother saw the sleeping child out of the corner of her eye. She suddenly strode to the stroller and picked up Nan Nan. She fiercely shouted at Ningxu. If you dare to break things again, I won't let you be with the child. I don't want my granddaughter to be with a lunatic. And Jinwei's mother held the child very tightly. The child was very uncomfortable and cried loudly. And Jinwei's mother didn't coax the crying child at all. Instead, she shouted angrily. What are you crying for? You're here to collect debts. You and your mother are here to collect debts. The Yin family must have had 8 generations of bad luck to have you too. The child cried even louder. Chen Ning put down the vase. And Jinwei's mother shouted at Ningxu. Ningxu took a deep breath. She really had a new understanding of the Yin family's ruthlessness. Now they were using the child as a hostage to threaten her? This child was related to this family by blood. She was their descendant. Just because she was a girl, they treated her with contempt and disregard. Chapter 940. If it was a boy, would he be willing to let her cry like this? He didn't even coax her. If the child cried too hard, she would get a hernia. Ningxu had an unprecedented feeling in his heart. Humans were for reproduction and survival. But what was the use of continuing the bloodline of such a family? Cold-blooded and utilitarian. Not to mention for the entire human race, he couldn't even live a good life, let alone for the entire human race. Oh, everyone had been like this, so everyone had to live like this. Endure, 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 and in the end, their lives were over. They would die with a grand funeral and be satisfied with their lives. Ningxu held the vase and confronted the Yin family, using his own bloodline to threaten her, an outsider. Using a mother's love for her child. Ningxu's bottom line was refreshed again. He looked around at the 3 Yin family members, put the vase and said, Give the child to me first. She's crying so hard. The child's face was flushed red from holding it in. And Jinwei stood up from the ground with the help of the wall. His glasses were cracked, and his face was covered with Ningxu's fingernail marks. He looked very embarrassed. Don't move. I'll tie you up first. Otherwise you'll go crazy and hurt the child. And Jinwei arched his hips, and his movements were a little strange. Postpartum depression will hurt the child. I'm worried about you if you go crazy like this. And Jinwei said. The negotiation scene was both funny and sad. Let me coax the child first, Ningxu said calmly. I'm very calm now, very calm. Ningxu felt his ankle hurt. He looked down and saw that the place wherein Jinwei had pinched was bleeding and flowing down his ankle into his shoes. His shoes were moist and warm. Why should I believe you? Who knows if you'll suddenly go crazy again? And Jinwei said coldly. At the same time he stood in front of his mother, blocking his mother and child to prevent Ningxu from snatching the child. Ningxu couldn't see the child. He could only hear the child crying hoarsely. Chen Ning, since you're awake now, let's talk about the divorce. And Jinwei said, You're not suitable for me. Ningxu was expressionless. His legs hurt from standing, so he sat on the sofa. Ningxu's body moved, and the Yin family members could not help but take a step back. It seemed that they were still afraid that Ningxu would go crazy. Divorce? Why do you want a divorce? Ningxu brushed his hair and looked innocent. You can get a divorce just because you say so. Let me tell you, according to the marriage law, during the woman's pregnancy, a year after delivery, or half a year after termination of pregnancy, the man is not allowed to file for divorce. Even if you file for divorce, the court will not accept it. Ningxu pointed at himself. The court will only accept it if I ask for a divorce. Ningxu crossed his legs. Besides, I have severe postpartum depression now. Do you think you can get a divorce? If he wanted to get a divorce, he would get a divorce. It was like throwing away a burden. When he couldn't serve you anymore, he would immediately abandon you. He didn't have any human feelings at all. The two of them had been married for almost 2 years, but Jinwei had never bought anything for Chen Ning, nor had he given her anything for her birthday. These things were all external, and it wasn't that important whether they existed or not. However, Jinwei had never even said a word of thanks to her. You. Jinwei looked at Ningxu in shock. How do you know this? Jinwei didn't know the details. He only thought that a divorce was a divorce, but he didn't expect it to be so troublesome. Did he have to endure this lunatic for a year? Not to mention a year. He didn't want to endure a day. Not to mention a day. Just staying under the same roof with this crazy woman was uncomfortable. It was so annoying. Ningxu smiled shyly at Jinwei. Because I was afraid that you would divorce me, I checked all kinds of information. After all, he was someone who had been a lawyer. Jinwei saw Ningxu smiling and felt disgusted. No matter how beautiful she was now, she was still a crazy woman. Besides, this woman wasn't very beautiful. Jinwei looked away and said angrily, "Then what do you want? How can you get a divorce?" Ningxu said calmly, "Give me the child first. If anything happens to my child, I can't guarantee that I won't do anything." No. Jinwei refused without thinking. "If you agree to the divorce, I'll give you the child." Ningxu was speechless. "Jinwei, I won't divorce you even if I die." Ningxu didn't ask for the child anymore. Jinwei was so angry at Ningxu's rogue attitude that the veins on his forehead throbbed. "But I hate you. I don't want to live with you anymore." Ningxu waved her hand and said earnestly, "Don't be so willful. Marriage isn't a game. Give me the child and we'll talk." Jinwei was speechless. Crazy woman. She was different. Jinwei rubbed his forehead and said to his mother, "Give her the child." "No, unless she agrees to the divorce." Jinwei's mother said as she held the child tightly, "Give it to her first." Jinwei looked at Ningxu, who was sitting leisurely with his legs crossed, and there was an irritation in his voice that couldn't be suppressed. "Give it to her and she treats it like a treasure." Jinwei's father said to his wife in annoyance. His expression was the same as his son's, full of annoyance. Obviously, he was very dissatisfied with Ningxu, who was causing trouble. Jinwei's mother glanced at Ningxu and didn't dare to go over. After all, she was punched earlier and her eyes still hurt. "Give it to her. I don't want a daughter-in-law like her." Jinwei's mother carried the child to Jinwei. "Mom, how do you want me to go over?" He was kicked in the crotch by the crazy woman, and was in so much pain that he couldn't walk. Jinwei's mother had no choice but to hand the child to Ningxu. Then, she immediately moved away from Ningxu, afraid that Ningxu would punch her again. Ningxu coaxed the crying child. He probably smelled his mother's scent and stopped crying. Ningxu injected some qi into the child and coaxed him to sleep. The family of 3 looked at Ningxu without moving. After tearing apart their relationship as husband and wife, Chen Ning and Jinwei were even worse than strangers, and strangers who hated each other. Ningxu whispered the mind-clearing mantra, and coaxed the child to sleep. Ningxu raised his head and looked at the 3 people. All 3 of them had cold faces and looked at Ningxu warily. Ningxu stood up with the child in his arms. Jinwei said, "Let's talk." Before Jinwei could finish his words, he watched in a daze as the crazy woman ran away with the child in her arms. Did she have a relapse again? Jinwei endured the pain in his crotch and chased after Ningxu. Ningxu climbed the stairs to the top floor of the residential area, and the family of 3 chased after him. Ningxu took off his shoes as he ran, and smeared the blood on his ankle all over his calf. Then he messed up his hair, making it look like a chicken coop. Chapter 941. Ningxu ran to the top floor with the child in her arms. She stood on the edge of the balcony and looked down. Damn, it's so high. How did Chen Ning have the courage to jump down? Jinwei caught up, panting and pale. Then the old couple also caught up. Jinwei's father's face was livid. "Do you want everyone to know?" Jinwei and Ningxu walked over and said in a low voice, "Stop it." Ningxu covered the child's ears and shouted sharply, "Don't come over. If you come any closer, I'll jump down. Ningshu moved a little to the side, and Jinwei stopped and scolded. Chen Ning, come here. Don't make a fool of yourself. We'll talk when we get back. You're not allowed to come over. Don't come over. Ningshu shouted sharply, and Jinwei could only stop. Ningshu cried loudly. The whole community was attracted by the situation on the top floor. It was in their nature to watch a show, especially a show like this. Soon, a lot of people gathered below the house. Many people even climbed to the top floor. The top floor became lively all of a sudden. The Yin family's faces couldn't be looked at, and Jinwei's face was full of disgust and hatred for Ningshu. Especially when he heard the discussion around him, he was so angry that his body trembled, and he clenched his fists tightly. Chen Ning, be good. We'll talk when we get back. And Jinwei said gently to Ningshu, but his eyes were full of disgust and impatience when he looked at Ningshu. Ningshu shook her head in horror. I'm not going back. I don't want to go back. If I go back, you'll tie me up and stab me with something again. Chen Ning, who stabbed you? And Jinwei's mother couldn't help but shout. My leg hurts. Ningshu touched her ankle and felt blood on her hand. The onlookers guessed how the wound was caused. They looked like they were watching a gossip. Some people even called the police. Jinwei's mother, what's wrong with your daughter-in-law? Some women asked in Jinwei's mother. And Jinwei's mother's face darkened. Who knows? She's crazy. I'm not crazy. The doctor just said that I have postpartum depression. I don't need to take medicine. It won't cost a lot of money. Don't tie me up. Don't divorce me. Ningshu said while wiping his tears. His hands were stained with blood, and he wiped the blood on his face. The surrounding people looked at the Yin family with strange eyes. What did this family do to force their daughter-in-law to death? Using death to prove one's sincerity. Moreover, people sympathize with the weak. Ningshu knelt on the ground with a thud. His face twitched. Damn, it really hurts. Jinwei, hubby, don't divorce me. Next time, I'll definitely give birth to a boy. I'll definitely give birth to a boy for the Yin family. Ningshu cried out miserably. I can take care of Nan myself, don't divorce me, aha. When the surrounding people saw how well she sang, they couldn't help but ask in Jinwei's mother. Your daughter-in-law hasn't finished her confinement yet, right? How did she end up like this? It's not my mother-in-law's fault. The doctor said that I have postpartum depression, and sometimes my temper is a little irritable. Ningshu wiped his tears. As long as Jinwei doesn't divorce me, I can take care of myself and the child. When the incision is healed, I'll give birth to a boy for the Yin family. I'll definitely give birth to a boy. Ningshu's attitude was so humble and pitiful that it made the Yin family extremely angry. That's enough, Chen Ning. I didn't know you had such ability. Who are you trying to threaten by doing this? And Jinwei couldn't stand the gazes of the surrounding people. This crazy woman. If this matter were to spread to the company, how would he behave? Ningshu quickly stood up and moved a little to the side with the child in her arms. He said miserably, You still want to divorce me, right? I'm really not crazy. I just have postpartum depression. Why are you in such a hurry to divorce me? Ningshu os. Damn, I can't move anymore. If I move anymore, I'll fall. The siren of the police car approached from afar. Soon a policeman came up. Ningshu advised, Don't kill yourself so easily. You still have a child in your arms. So what if it's a child? My in-laws don't like girls at all. They never cared for the child. They didn't change the child's diapers. She's not a boy. The Yin family wants a boy. Ningshu blabbered on and on. The people of the Yin family were like that. Ningshu's words made the Yin family extremely angry. Ningshu wouldn't be like Chen Ning. It was fine if he jumped down. After a long time, the Yin family would be fine. They would still live their lives. But now there was a precedent of forcing a daughter-in-law to death. Let's see which family would dare to marry their daughter easily. Even if they sold their daughter to marry him, it would definitely make the Yin family bleed. And they had to have a son. No woman could guarantee that she could have a son at once. Besides, it was up to the man to have a son. The policeman was also a little helpless. He whispered to Jinwei, Now stabilize your wife's mood and say that you won't divorce her. Won't divorce. After going through this incident, he had to leave. And Jinwei pursed his lips and clenched his fists tightly. He didn't say anything for a long time. Ningxu opened his eyes wide and looked at Jinwei expectantly. Then he looked more and more disappointed. I knew you wanted to divorce me because I didn't give birth to a boy. It's because I have a little postpartum depression. I just need to adjust myself for a while and I'll be fine. Can't you wait? Why do you have to divorce me in such a hurry? After the divorce, you're going to get married again. You don't like children now. When you get married again, the child will have a stepmother. What about my child? Ningxu wailed. It's better to die with me now so that you won't suffer in the future. The surrounding people looked at the Yin family even more strangely. The policeman couldn't help but say to Jinwei, your wife just gave birth to a child. Can't you be more considerate? Quickly tell her that you won't divorce. And Jinwei opened his mouth and finally said, I won't divorce you. Are you satisfied now? Really? Ningxu's tears turned into laughter. She took 2 steps forward and her face immediately changed. She took a step back and said, you must be lying to me. Trick me into going back and tie me up. I can't go out anymore. Then jump, Chen Ning. Don't go too far. And Jinwei was so angry with Ningxu that he lost his mind and poured a basin of feces on the Yin family's head. The Yin family's reputation was ruined by this woman. This woman did it on purpose. Ningxu blinked and blinked his tears. You hate me so much. If we can't divorce, you'll let me die. Fuck, the wind on the roof is so strong. It's a little cold. Quickly pull me over. The policeman had completely given up on letting Jinwei comfort Ningxu. Seeing Jinwei like this, he knew that his wife was not doing well at home. She was injured and no one treated her. Chapter 942. Under the repeated assurances of the police, they even promised to visit Ningxu every 3 days to make sure that the Yin family would not do anything to Ningxu. With Ningxu's current strength, the Yin family really couldn't do anything to Ningxu. But she still asked hesitantly, really? Will they tie me up with wires? And Jinwei's face was so dark that it couldn't be looked at. His family's dirty linen had become the laughingstock of the whole community after dinner and tea. This lunatic. The police moved to Ningxu's side and said to Ningxu, we will definitely ensure your safety. Don't worry. The police reached out and pulled Ningxu to a safe place. Ningxu breathed a sigh of relief. Finally, she didn't have to be exposed to the wind. Ningxu also asked Jinwei, honey, you said you wouldn't divorce me. And Jinwei looked at Ningxu viciously and turned to leave. But his walking was a little strange, like a duck. Ningxu blinked and cried silently. The Yin family turned and went downstairs. No one came to help Ningxu hold the child. Not killing Ningxu was already considered a form of restraint after causing so much trouble to the Yin family. Ningxu lowered her head, looking extremely lonely and scared. She limped downstairs with the child in her arms. The police sent Ningxu back to the Yin family and educated the Yin family not to abuse their daughter-in-law. Ningxu returned to the bedroom with the child in her arms. She put the child in the crib and shook her arms. After holding the child for so long, her arms were sore. Ningxu went to the bathroom to wipe the blood off her legs. Looking at the wound on her ankle, she was ruthless, and so was Jinwei. Anyway, there was a deep hatred between them, and they wanted to kill each other. The Yin family was a mess. Ningxu locked herself in the bedroom, and the work fell to Jinwei's mother. If Chen Ning had the lowest status in the family, then Jinwei's mother was the second from the bottom. That was why Jinwei's mother liked to look for superiority in Chen Ning. Jinwei's mother cleaned up the trash, broken glass, and porcelain. The father and son of the Yin family sat on a chair, facing each other in silence. Dad, I want to divorce Chen Ning. The Yin family doesn't want such a daughter-in-law. Jinwei said, we have to divorce her, no matter what the price. Jinwei's father shook his head. Now is not the time to get a divorce. After what she did, if we get a divorce immediately, what will others think of our family? We are at a disadvantage. What if she blackmails us? Jinwei's father said, she still dares to blackmail us. It's already good enough that we didn't ask her to return the 100,000 dowry. And Jinwei's mother said indignantly, "What right does she have to blackmail us? You're such a lazy woman. Why don't you help take care of the children? Why do you only know how to play mahjong and square dance with the women in the neighborhood?" And Jinwei's father pointed at her and scolded, "Don't you also play cards and chess every day?" And Jinwei's mother retorted, "I have a retirement salary. Do you? These things should be done by you women. Do you want me, a father-in-law, to take care of my daughter-in-law? I can't believe you can think of something like that." And Jinwei's father pointed at her. "I just said a few words, and you're talking back." And Jinwei's mother felt very wronged. "I didn't go through the confinement period like this when I gave birth. Why is she so precious and so pretentious that she committed suicide? I think she did it on purpose. Okay, I just want to divorce her now." And Jinwei said, "I don't want to live with such a woman for a minute. Wait a little longer. Don't be in the teeth of the storm." And Jinwei's father sighed. Ningshu opened the door and said to the Yin family, "I'm hungry. I want to eat meat." "Go eat shit." And Jinwei's mother scolded Ningshu. "You still have the nerve to ask for food." Ningshu tilted his head and looked at the Yin family expressionlessly. And Jinwei's father scolded, "Go cook. What are you waiting for?" And Jinwei's mother had not finished cleaning up the garbage in the living room. And now she was being ordered to cook. She threw the broom in her hand away angrily and went into the kitchen to cook. Ningshu glanced at Jinwei's phone on the table and ran over to grab it. And Jinwei immediately stood up and shouted, "Chen Ning, what's wrong with you? You want to divorce me? Do you have another woman?" Ningshu swiped Jinwei's phone, and the phone was snatched away by Jinwei. "Chen Ning, I'm warning you. Don't challenge my patience." And Jinwei put the phone in his pocket. "Don't think that I won't divorce you because I'm afraid," Ningshu said without changing his expression. "But before that, you have to endure my moodiness for a year. You see, I'm awake now, but I don't know what I'll do in the next second. I really want to die. Maybe I'll drag you down with me," Ningshu said with a smile. "Hubby, can't we just live a good life? Was this like living a good life?" And Jinwei slammed the door and left. Ningshu shouted at Jinwei's back, "Hubby, today is the weekend. Where are you going?" And Jinwei didn't pay any attention to Ningshu and left without looking back. Ningshu shrugged and looked indifferent. He turned and saw Jinwei's father staring at him. He asked, "Father-in-law, do you have something to say to your daughter-in-law? You don't want to commit suicide now. What's the point of acting on your own?" And Jinwei's father said, "What grievances can't you say? Why do you have to make a scene like this? Even if I say it, you won't care. You'll only blame me for making trouble." Ningshu said, "Depression is like this. I can have thoughts of suicide at any time. Maybe I'll die with a jump, or maybe I'll suddenly get through it, and then I'll try to commit suicide again. Over and over again. Father-in-law, don't you think it's painful?" Ningshu's tone was light, with an indescribable gloominess. It was obviously a disease, but few people cared about it. Why? Because women were in a weak position. Their families would only think that they were pretentious and meddlesome. In addition, depression was not a disease that many people took seriously. There was no justice in this family. It relied on the sacrifice of some people to maintain peace and happiness, and there was no compensation for the sacrifice. "Do you really want to live with Jinwei?" And Jinwei's father Ningshu said, "Yes, I want to live with him, but he doesn't want to live with me." Ningshu smiled and said, "It's not so easy to divorce." Ningshu grinned and said, "One night as husband and wife, 100 days of grace. Father-in-law, it's better to tear down 10 temples than to tear down a marriage. You won't let Jinwei divorce me, will you?" And Jinwei's father looked at the smile on Ningshu's face. Now he really understood why his son insisted on divorcing her. He was really crazy. She was irritable and temperamental. One moment she cried, and the next moment she was as gloomy as if she was possessed by a ghost. How tiring it was to live with such a woman. Moreover, she couldn't do anything for the family at all. It was a waste to raise her. Chapter 943. And Jinwei's father was very dissatisfied with Ning Shu's daughter-in-law. He threw the cigarette butt in his hand into the ashtray. The room was filled with thick smoke. Ning Shu turned and left. Wait a minute. And Jinwei's father called out to Ning Shu. Some things should be made clear. Logically speaking, these things should be told to you by your mother-in-law. Your mother-in-law does not do things properly. Do you know why Jinwei insisted on divorcing you? And Jinwei's father asked. Why divorce? Afraid of trouble, afraid of losing face. Because you are not a good daughter-in-law. How can there not be any bumps and bruises in life? You are making a fuss just because you are wronged. You don't care about the honor of a family, and Jinwei's father said. What good will it do you to make a fuss like this? Ning Shu only grinned. There must be some benefits for him to do so. Father-in-law, I can be a good daughter-in-law, but my in-laws are not good. I can be wronged, but now that I am at a low point in my life, you are abandoning me. Then what about the grievances I have suffered in the past? Ning Shu said lightly. When things are unfair, they cry out. Anyway, you should endure. If you are wronged, you should endure. If you want a family to accept you, why can't you be wronged a little? These grievances can make the family accept you and treat you as a member. But look at what you are doing now. And Jinwei said, whether it is on the ground, whether it is work or family, there are sacrifices to be gains. Only then can people accept you. The things you are doing make it so that we can't accept you. After getting married, you are here to contribute, to be wronged, to beg a family to accept you. Are you in a hurry? Ha ha ha. Ning Shu couldn't help but laugh. How can family compare to work? At least the grievances I suffer at work give me money to survive. But the grievances I suffer at home, I have to do endless things every day, and I have to give birth to children. These things are just for the family to accept me. Ning Shu chanted Ba in his heart. Fortunately, he died and became a mission enforcer, breaking away from the marriage and reproduction of ordinary humans. Sacrifice and dedication also depended on whether it was worth it, especially for people who were not blood related to him. She was willing to meet a good person, but she met a cold-hearted person. Don't tell me there's nothing for you to eat at home? And Jinwei's father said with a sullen face. Ning Shu nodded. Yes, but it's like asking for food. It's like charity. I'll just find a job and earn some money to eat, drink and poop. It's better than serving you guys at home. Ning Shu suddenly realized that he was destined to be alone for the rest of his life. Usually, a woman's success depended on how many men liked her, and how many men loved her. In this way, she was a complete failure. No matter how successful a woman is, no matter how successful her career is, but no man likes her, she will be mocked by other women. Look at her, so what if she earns a lot of money? No man likes her, and she can't get married. No one wants her. Ning Shu was speechless. If you think so and feel that the Yin family has wronged you, then divorce Jinwei and find a place where you don't feel wronged. And Jinwei's father said. No matter how much he said, he was still abandoning her, a useless wife. Ning Shu took a deep breath and smiled. Father-in-law, you said that I should endure the grievances, but you talked to me while I was in confinement. You want me to divorce your son? It would be strange if I could endure it. Father-in-law, smoke less. There's a pregnant woman and a baby in the family. Why don't you know how to sacrifice for the family? TSK. Ning Shu raised his hand and waved the smoke away, then turned around and entered the bedroom. The Yin family was tolerant and strict. Back in the bedroom, Ning Shu took out his phone and called in Jinwei. Hey, where are you? Come back. If you don't come back, I'll take the child to look for you. Chen Ning, now you even want to care about my affairs outside? And Jinwei was very angry. Chen Ning, let me tell you, I don't want to see your face. You have no right to interfere in my affairs. And Jinwei's tone was like, who do you think you are? What right do you have to interfere in my affairs? Ning Shu shrugged and hung up the phone. Who the hell cares about you? Ning Shu turned on the GPS and monitored in Jinwei's current location. It showed that he was in a hotel. Ning Shu narrowed his eyes. A place like a hotel was quite suitable for catching adulterers. Ning Shu put his phone aside and glanced at the child in the crib. Then he began to cultivate his ultimate martial arts. Martial arts were very important. If not for his martial arts, he would have been tied up at home by the Yin family, and would not see the light of day. After the suicide scene, the Yin family did not dare to do anything to her for the time being, but the news had passed. The suicide incident was quite big. Her family had received the news. Chen Ning's mother quickly came to see Ning Shu. The first thing she said was, "Why are you getting a divorce? You can't get a divorce." Ning Shu said indifferently, "Since it's like this, it's better to get a divorce." "Where will you live after the divorce?" "Your sister-in-law said that one of your previous rooms was too small, so she renovated the 2 rooms. You know, young people nowadays like spacious and fashionable rooms," Chen Ning's mother said. Ning Shu was speechless. What a mess. What exactly is it that has to get a divorce? Can't you just bear with it? Take a step back and it'll be over. Chen Ning's mother said. How can there be nothing wrong with 2 people living together? Didn't we all come here by quarreling? There's nothing that can't be over. That's how everyone came here. Ning Shu was speechless. He felt suffocated. It was because everyone was living like that she had to live like that. Only those who were in it would know how painful it was. Ever since she entered this mission, she had been holding back her anger. She knew that she had to endure everything. She did not know why. What was she asking for? What was she after? Ning Shu said perfunctorily, I know what I'm doing. It's good that you know. You have a child. You have to think about the child. Chen Ning's mother Ning Shu said. And Jin Wei is a good person. He has a stable job and doesn't have any bad habits. You still want a divorce. Don't you think you're asking for it? The shoes are not on your feet, but you only know how to say that the shoes are so beautiful and of good quality. What else are you not satisfied with? Think about the child. The most annoying thing was to talk about the child. The child was an adult at the age of 18 and could start a new life, but the woman had to endure until she died. It had been decades. Ning Shu was unfamiliar with Chen Ning's mother. He was probably afraid that she would become a burden to the family after the divorce. She was despised wherever she went. Because she had no value, she was treated as a burden wherever she went. Chapter 944. Ning Shu talked to Chen Ning's mother for a while. Chen Ning's mother kept telling Ning Shu not to throw a tantrum and not to get a divorce. Once they got divorced, it would be an earthquake for both families. They might become enemies if they had 2 different surnames. Chen Ning's mother also vaguely said that the 100,000 yuan betrothal gift from the Yin family had been used up for all kinds of electrical appliances in the house. In other words, she wanted Ning Shu to bear with it for the sake of 100,000 yuan. If the Yin family asked for 100,000 yuan as a betrothal gift, the family couldn't afford it. Ning Shu was speechless. Chen Ning, you've never let the family worry about you since you were young. You're a sensible girl. If you're wronged, look at the child. The child is still so young. Chen Ning's mother touched Ning Shu's head. Women are like this. Everyone has been like this. Ning Shu's expression was wooden as he nodded. I know what to do. Your brother is getting married soon. Don't cause trouble with our son-in-law and make your brother's-in-laws unhappy, Chen Ning's mother said. Ning Shu asked casually, has the date been set? We're discussing the date. When the time comes, we'll invite you and our son-in-law to come over and have a good talk with him, Chen Ning's mother said. Oh, Ning Shu replied. Chen Ning's mother brought over some eggs for Ning Shu to nourish his body. Ning Shu curled his lips. Thank you. Before Chen Ning's mother left, she told Ning Shu not to have any conflicts with her son-in-law. Ning Shu hummed insincerely. As for the original owner's brother's wedding, Ning Shu hadn't decided whether to go. Ning Shu hadn't met Chen Ning's brother, but he felt that he was quite indifferent. He didn't come to see his sister after she gave birth and used her sister's betrothal gift money to decorate and get a wife. Sigh. It seemed that this was basically the life of a woman nowadays. Ning Shu shrugged and felt tired, so he lay on the bed to rest. As for her family, Ning Shu didn't care. She was definitely going to get a divorce. Did he really think that she wanted to live within Jin Wei? The person who showed her trump card first was likely to lose. Because of the law, and Jinwei couldn't get a divorce within a year. Even if he brought it up, the court wouldn't accept it. She now had the upper hand. Ning Shu, who was sleeping, was woken up by a noise. He opened his eyes and saw Jinwei taking clothes from the wardrobe and putting them in a box. And Jinwei glanced at Ning Shu, his face incomparably cold and annoyed. He put his tie, shirt and suit jacket into the box. Ning Shu asked, "Where are you going?" "I won't be living at home anymore. Tell me when you've decided to divorce." And Jinwei said coldly. Ning Shu didn't care. "Who cares where you are? You use this kind of method, and you use this kind of indifferent way to torture people." Ning Shu didn't say a word. He just looked at the baby in the crib. And Jinwei was angered to death by Ning Shu's cold attitude. And in Jinwei's heart, when he was about to leave home, the other party should be in fear and trepidation to keep him, and beg him not to leave. What did he want such a woman for? "Chen Ning, I'll tell you directly. I'm definitely going to divorce you." And Jinwei said, "As long as we live apart for a long time, I may also file for divorce with the court. Our relationship is broken." Broken relationship? What kind of relationship was that? How could it be broken? Ning Shu nodded. "I see. Then I wish you all the best. It would be best if you moved out. No one would serve you tea, cook for you, and wash for you. How long would your salary last?" And Jinwei took a deep breath. "Don't challenge my patience. Sooner or later, I'll kick you out of this house." And Jinwei slammed the lid on the box and left with it in his hand. And Jinwei's mother grabbed him and refused to let him go. She begged Jinwei not to move out and scolded Ning Shu. And Jinwei's mother's eyes were filled with tears. And Jinwei had never left home. She would be very worried if he went out. And Jinwei insisted on leaving. He pulled away Jinwei's mother's hand and left with the box. And Jinwei's mother rushed to Ning Shu's room and looked at Ning Shu with hatred. "Who do you think you are? What right do you have to make Jinwei leave?" Ning Shu held the child in his arms and covered the child's ears, so that he would not be frightened by Jinwei's mother's hoarse voice. "Even if someone were to leave, it would be a woman like you. Chen Ning, you've grown up. Find Jinwei for me." And Jinwei's mother, Ning Shu, roared, her face full of disgust. Ning Shu said, "His legs are on his body. I can't stop him from going anywhere. Can I cut off his legs?" "You're still quibbling." And Jinwei's mother, Ning Shu, shouted, "Go find him, even if you have to kneel and beg him to come back." Ning Shu was expressionless. "I'm in confinement. You want me to go out and find him?" Everything was blamed on her. And he had to kneel and beg her to come back. What kind of person was he? Ning Shu held the child and ignored Jinwei's mother. And Jinwei's mother kept nagging and scolding Ning Shu. She said all kinds of unpleasant things. "Granny, you're scolding me like this. I feel so bad." Ning Shu grinned at Jinwei's mother, showing his white teeth. Ning Shu carried the child out of bed. And Jinwei's mother was so scared that her face turned pale. She turned and quickly walked out of the room. Ning Shu sneered and followed him out of the room. He said to Jinwei's mother, "Granny, why are you running? I haven't finished talking to you. I want to drink some radish soup tonight. Stewed radish with pork ribs. Go eat shit. You pissed Jinwei off and still have the mood to eat? Dream on." And Jinwei's mother rushed into the kitchen and took a kitchen knife. "Don't think that I'm afraid of you. I'm afraid of you just because you're crazy. You tortured my son to such a state and still have the face to ask for food. Just because you have a problem, you want others to spoil you. If you want to die together, then die together." Ning Shu tilted his head and said, "It's disgraceful for me to ask for food. Your son left on his own. What does it have to do with me? Don't think that I'm afraid of you just because you have a knife in your hand. Anyway, I don't want to live anymore. Then let's die together," Ning Shu said without a care. If you didn't make Jinwei unhappy, if you didn't make him feel bad in this house, why would he leave? And Jinwei's mother's eyes were red. "He never left home. It's all because of you." Ning Shu rolled his eyes. "Whether he left home or not has nothing to do with me. You're a black-hearted woman. You don't care about your husband at all. You only want to live a happy life. The Yin family has 8 generations of bad luck to marry a woman like you. And Jinwei's mother raised her hand and patted her knee. You can't carry on the Yin family's ancestral line and give birth to a girl. Ningxu was expressionless. You don't believe in Yin. You keep talking about Yin family all day long. TSK tisk. What are you doing? You really can't rest for a minute. And Jinwei's father, who was smoking on the balcony, came in and saw the confrontation between the mother and daughter-in-law. Put down the knife. Chapter 945. And Jinwei's father was irritated by the messy atmosphere in the house. He was very dissatisfied with his wife and Ningxu. Get out of here if you continue to make a fuss. Why are you yelling at me? My son is gone. Can't I say a few words? And Jinwei's mother threw the kitchen knife on the ground with a clang. She covered her face and ran into the room crying. And Jinwei's father's face was even darker. He looked at Ningxu, who was holding the child, and said in a low voice with resentment, Are you satisfied now? You'll only be happy if you make this house a mess. Why should I be happy? Why should I be unhappy? I'm just hungry after confinement and want to eat something, Ningxu said indifferently. My mother-in-law wants to take the kitchen knife and die with me. I can't cook for myself right now. Why do you have to make something for yourself? For the sake of the family, you can't even bear this little grievance. Why do you have to make a fuss like this? Ningxu shook his head and entered the bedroom with a helpless expression. He didn't even look at his father-in-law's face. Ningxu returned to the room and closed the door. After feeding the child, he sat cross-legged on the bed and cultivated. His wounds were almost healed now. The qi gene he cultivated was used to strengthen his body or to inject some qi gene into the child. Since he was discharged from the hospital, the child hadn't been sick, which saved Ningxu a lot of trouble. While cultivating, Ningxu vaguely heard the sound of quarreling in the opposite room. It was obviously in Jinwei's parents arguing. He vaguely heard in Jinwei's mother's sharp voice. I've worked so hard for this family. Now I have to take care of my wife. Damn old man. You're ruining me like this. Ningxu pursed his lips. You've worked so hard for the Yin family, so now you think it's Chen Ning's turn. It seemed that the Yin family had always been like this. And Jinwei's mother was a daughter-in-law who became a mother-in-law. Ningxu closed his eyes and continued to cultivate, excluding the noise from the outside world. He didn't know how long he cultivated, but Ningxu's cultivation was interrupted by a broken sound. And Jinwei's father scolded. Look at yourself. Why should I serve a daughter-in-law? Isn't it enough for me to serve you and your father? Now I have to serve that woman. And Jinwei's mother roared. Back then, I gave birth to Jinwei as my first child. It was a boy, and he wasn't that delicate. I had to serve him. I'm a mother-in-law, a mother-in-law. Ningxu opened the door and saw in Jinwei's father coming out. There were scratches on his face. It was obvious that his wife had scratched him. And Jinwei's father glanced at Ningxu and left. Ningxu glanced at the opposite bedroom and saw in Jinwei's mother sitting on the bed, crying. Ningxu felt that it was really boring. What era was this? He felt that the Yin family was still a feudal family. And Jinwei's mother had suffered when she was young. Now that she had a daughter-in-law, she felt that her daughter-in-law should do everything and take care of the family. He should enjoy it and find a sense of superiority from his wife. Ningxu closed the door and continued to cultivate. He could do whatever he wanted. It didn't matter if the family blew up. Stability and peace relied on people's sacrifices and unspoken rules. Once someone was unhappy and wanted to break the rules, they would definitely not be able to maintain peace and stability. And Jinwei's father went out and still hadn't returned when it was dark. Originally, and Jinwei's mother was quite angry, but after waiting for so long, she panicked and called everywhere to ask. And Jinwei's mother was so anxious that tears came down her face. She sat in the living room and cried. Her son and husband had left. What should she do? It's all your fault. It's all because of you. You're such a troublemaker. Since you were born, the Yin family has never had a comfortable day. You're such a troublemaker. And Jinwei's mother pointed at Ningxu and scolded her. As she scolded, she burst into tears. Ningxu was expressionless. What was there to cry about? How could such a big person get lost? And Jinwei's mother had been tortured to the point of masochism. And Jinwei's father didn't treat her well, but she couldn't leave him. This father and son pair were very good at using emotional violence. Just like now, they didn't say anything and ran away on their own. They didn't return home when it was dark. They deliberately made you anxious and deliberately tortured you. And Jinwei's mother was worried that something had happened to him, but she was also worried that he had climbed into a woman's bed. She paced around the living room anxiously. Ningxu wasn't in the mood to quarrel with Jinwei's mother. He closed the door and clicked on the GPS to see where Jinwei was. When he had nothing to do, he still had to go around the hotel. Maybe something would happen? Chen Ning opened the door. And Jinwei's mother knocked hard on the door. Ningxu opened the door and asked, "Is the radish stewed pork ribs ready?" "Eat, eat, you only know how to eat." And Jinwei's mother reached out and grabbed Ningxu's arm. She shouted angrily, "Come with me to find your father-in-law. He's old. He's not home so late. Is he in danger?" Ningxu pried Jinwei's mother's hand away. "It's cold at night. I'm in confinement. Confinement is more important than being in confinement. Chen Ning, I've never seen a woman as cruel as you." And Jinwei's mother glared fiercely at Ningxu. Ningxu rolled his eyes. "He's not a 3-year-old child. How could anything happen to him? I called all his friends in the neighborhood. They said he didn't go over. His face is covered in bruises because of you. How could he go to his friend's house?" The Yin family's men were all very prideful. They puffed themselves up at their own cost. "He's probably with your son now." When Ningxu checked the GPS, he found 2 red dots. They were always together. It was probably Jinwei's father. Ningxu didn't buy it at all. These people had nothing to do with him. Ningxu wouldn't even blink if they died in front of him. Because he didn't care, there was no reaction. These people's cold violence could only be used on people who cared about them. When Jinwei heard Ningxu's words, she immediately called him. She probably knew where her husband was. She let out a long breath and sat on the sofa. Ningxu looked at her as if the sky was falling. Now he relaxed as if his spirit had been sucked out. She was just another person who was enslaved by the Yin family. She still had to feel superior in front of her daughter-in-law. Ningxu went to the kitchen to get something to eat. After eating, he closed the door and ignored everything. Ningxu opened the GPS again and found that the 2 red dots were both there. It seemed that the father and son were really together. For the next few days, the father and son slept in the hotel. And Jinwei's mother seemed very frustrated when her husband didn't come home. She called her husband, but he hung up immediately. And Jinwei's mother's eyes turned red. Ningxu didn't feel anything. He ate, slept, and cultivated every day. His body was very strong. Usually, in such a situation, the first to collapse was the weak person. And Jinwei's mother personally went to the hotel to find her husband. Chapter 946. She didn't know how Jinwei's mother managed to get her husband to come back. She probably just pretended to be weak and said nice things. As soon as Jinwei's mother got home, she said to Ningxu, "Go and get Jinwei back. Do you know how hard Jinwei is living in the hotel? No one washes his clothes. He spends so much money and doesn't eat well." And Jinwei's mother roared at Ningxu. "He has a family. If he stays in a hotel, others will only say that you are not a qualified wife." Ningxu glanced at Jinwei's father. "If you can get your father-in-law back, why didn't you get your son back? Why do you have to wait for me to get him back? Do you want me to kneel and kowtow like an emperor? It's useless even if you go." Jinwei said that he will come back when you get divorced. And Jinwei's father said coldly and turned to the door. "Where are you going?" And Jinwei's mother asked quickly. "It's annoying to stay at home. I'm going out to play chess with them." And Jinwei's father walked away with his hands behind his back. "Come back early for lunch." And Jinwei's mother glanced at Ningxu. She was probably afraid that her husband would leave in anger again. She didn't dare to make a fuss with Ningxu and went to the kitchen to prepare lunch. Ningxu went back to the room and turned on the GPS. He found something interesting. The red dot that represented Jinwei was followed by another red dot. The two of them were like shadows. They went to the restaurant, the movie theater, and basically went to the places where couples played. Ningxu carried the child on his back and prepared to go to the hotel to see what Jinwei was doing. "Where are you going?" Jinwei's mother looked at Ningxu warily. She was afraid that Ningxu would run to the top floor and jump off again. Ningxu said, "Aren't you going to get Jinwei back?" "I'm going to kneel and kowtow." "Really?" Ningxu carried the child and left. Ningxu arrived at the hotel according to the GPS. It wasn't dark yet, and Jinwei hadn't returned to the hotel yet. Ningxu waited in the convenience store opposite the hotel and bought some food. When the evening lights came on, Ningxu found out from the GPS that Jinwei was heading towards the hotel. Ningxu saw Jinwei enter the hotel with a woman holding his arm. Ningxu followed him into the hotel. Because of the GPS, he didn't need to ask the front desk where Jinwei's room was. However, Ningxu was standing at the door of the guest room. Without the key, there was no way to enter. He didn't know if the two of them had gotten to the point. She should take a shower and prepare the atmosphere. No matter what, she had to wait for the two of them to take off their clothes and change into their pajamas. Ningxu waited at the door. After about 10 minutes, Ningxu pressed the doorbell and said, "Sir, your red wine is here." In the room, the two of them were wearing bathrobes after taking a shower. The woman was lying seductively on the bed. Jinwei was about to do something when he heard the hotel waiter bringing the red wine. He was a little puzzled. He didn't order red wine. Jinwei opened the door and was stunned to see Ningxu holding the phone. He was about to close the door when Ningxu kicked the door and entered the room. "What are you doing here? Get out!" Jinwei dragged Ningxu out of the room. Ningxu shook off Jinwei's hand and held the phone to record the woman on the bed. The woman on the bed immediately pulled the loose bathrobe to cover her body. She lowered her head and covered her face with her hair before running out of the room. Ningxu's voice was inexplicably shocked. "Jinwei, you're calling a prostitute and not paying? Who told you to record? Give me the phone." Jinwei's face darkened. He reached out to grab Ningxu's phone. Ningxu put the phone in his bag and ran out of the room without saying anything to Jinwei. Jinwei wanted to chase after Ningxu, but he was wearing a bathrobe and there was nothing inside. Jinwei gritted his teeth and put on his clothes. He casually stuffed the clothes into the suitcase and was ready to check out and go home. After being recorded that kind of video, Jinwei wanted to prevent it from being leaked. Jinwei wanted to kill this crazy woman. How dare she? Ningxu took her phone and saved the video in her email. Then she went back. "I knew you couldn't call Jinwei back." Jinwei's mother said in disdain when she saw Ningxu coming back alone. Ningxu smiled. Maybe he will come back later. She had the evidence of Jinwei's affair in her hands. It would be strange if Jinwei could sit still. In just half an hour, Jinwei rushed back. As soon as he entered the room, he lifted the suitcase and threw it at Ningxu. His face was full of anger and disgust. Ningxu wouldn't stand there stupidly and let the suitcase hit him. He dodged it at once. The suitcase hit the ground with a bang, and the small wool fell off. Jinwei's sudden action made the two elders look at each other. Jinwei's mother quickly asked, "What's wrong with you? Ask her what she did." Jinwei was so angry that his face turned blue. He pointed at Ningxu. "Don't think you can threaten me with that kind of video. What is it?" Jinwei's father asked with a frown. Ningxu took out his mobile phone and played what he had filmed. "Oh, he's talking about this," Ningxu said bitterly. "You find other women. I feel so bad. How can you do this to me? Why can't I find other women? You are pregnant and I need relief." Jinwei said with a cold face. Jinwei's father asked, "Who is this woman?" "I just met her online. Meeting her won't hurt the family," Jinwei said. "The next day, we will go our separate ways," Jinwei said lightly. Ningxu understood. It was an online hookup. He didn't know if this was Jinwei's first time or if it had been many times. "Jinwei, what kind of woman is she?" Jinwei's mother asked politely. She had the intention of looking for a daughter-in-law. I won't bring such a woman home. And Jinwei said, playing with that kind of woman is enough. It's just to relieve each other's loneliness. Find a woman, find a good woman, and Jinwei said. Ningxu was speechless. So what are men like? They want to sleep with other people's wives and girlfriends, but they also want their girlfriends and wives to be virgins. That's how it should be. Marry a virtuous wife. That kind of woman will only make the house a mess. And Jinwei's father nodded and said, Ningxu, didn't Jinwei do something good? Shouldn't the main point be that he cheated? Ningxu coughed. And Jinwei, you are not loyal to your marriage. I am not loyal. You can divorce me. And Jinwei said coldly. Ningxu sneered. Qinning, if you really have a backbone and think that I betrayed you, divorce me. Chapter 947. If you can't stand it, I'll definitely agree to divorce you. And Jinwei stared at Ningxu with disdain. Obviously, he thought that Ningxu didn't have the courage to divorce him. Ningxu thought, damn, I'm so bad-tempered. I've never seen an affair so self-righteous. Do you think you can seize the opportunity to divorce me? Ningxu lifted her foot and stepped on the sofa expressionlessly. She had just recorded such shameless words. She didn't know what kind of comments it would cause on the internet. What are you talking about? You want to divorce me? Ningxu looked indifferent. Say it again. Who do you want to divorce? Ningxu bent down and picked up an apple. She tossed it in her hand and was about to throw it at Jinwei. And Jinwei's eyes followed the rise and fall of the apple. He couldn't help but move to the side and yell at Ningxu with a sullen face. Ning, are you going crazy again? Put it down. I'm just sad that you want to divorce me. I can endure anything. Please don't divorce me. Ningxu begged, but her face was gloomy, as if she was about to start a fight. Ning, aren't you a bitch? Why don't you divorce me? Anyway, I must divorce you. And Jinwei looked particularly disdainful. Who are you calling a bitch? Ningxu tilted her head and looked at Jinwei. The apple was directly thrown at Jinwei. And Jinwei had been prepared for Ningxu. Although he dodged, he was still hit. And Jinwei hissed. He felt as if he had been hit by a stone. It was burning. Before he could breathe a sigh of relief, apples hit him one after another. He suddenly cried out in pain. Ning, what are you doing? When Jinwei's mother saw that her son had been beaten, she was so angry that her face turned green. Her son couldn't even bear to lift a finger, and was beaten by this crazy woman one after another. And Jinwei's mother had long wanted to tear this woman apart. And Jinwei's mother stretched out her hand to hit Ningxu, but Ningxu dodged in a flash. You still dare to hide? And Jinwei's mother's eyes widened. Her eyes were bloodshot as she ferociously looked at Ningxu. Why are you blaming me when you can't hit me? How can you be so unreasonable? Ningxu said indifferently. Ning, let's talk things out. Don't get physical. And Jinwei's father said sternly. Ningxu lightly said, I'm already being very polite by not cutting off his manhood. Maybe I'll go crazy and cut off his manhood. I heard that it's not illegal for a mental patient to kill someone. I have severe postpartum depression, and I'm often in a trance. Even though I'm high up, it's as if I'm walking on flat ground. Last time in the bathroom, I felt like I was tied up inside. I couldn't get out no matter how hard I tried. I couldn't shout, so all I could do was bang my head against the wall. Ningxu said indifferently. I think I'm already crazy. You. And Jinwei looked at Ningxu in anger. He couldn't help but clamp his legs together, afraid that Ningxu would cut off his life grid. Even those who didn't care about their lives were afraid of lunatics. Who knew what lunatics would do? And Jinwei coughed and tried his best to soften his voice. Ning, can we have a good talk? There's no point in arguing like this. Then talk to me properly. I can't hear anything reasonable from you. Cheating is so natural. If I hear it, I'll beat you up once. Ningxu sat on the sofa and pointed at the apple on the ground. Wash an apple for me. I'm thirsty. The family stood motionless. Ningxu pointed at the apple on the ground again. Wash it. What are you waiting for? Didn't you say you wanted to have a good talk? I want to eat an apple now. Wash it for me. Ningshu propped his chin up and looked at Jinwei. Hurry up. Go wash one, Jinwei's father said to his wife. Wash one. Jinwei's mother pursed her lips and bent down to pick up the apple. Seriously, you think you're the Empress Dowager? Let my dear wash one for me. Ningshu pointed at Jinwei. Go wash it. I've always been the one serving you. Today, it's your turn to serve me. Ningshu's expression changed. Why? Aren't you washing it? Jinwei took a deep breath, took the apple from his mother's hand, and went to the kitchen to wash it. Wash it clean. If you don't wash it clean, I won't eat it. If I don't eat it, there's no way to have a good talk. Ningshu propped his chin up and said lazily. Jinwei washed the apple and handed it to Ningshu. Ningshu glanced at it. There's water. Jinwei took out a piece of paper, wiped the water on the apple, and handed it to Ningshu. Ningshu pointed his fingers, took the apple, and began to chew. Can you talk now? Jinwei said. Before we talk, give me the video. I'm eating an apple. Ningshu said indifferently. The family stared at Ningshu eating the apple alone. Jinwei's mother stared at Ningshu, her eyes almost popping out. Ningshu handed the apple core to Jinwei. What now? Jinwei asked with a look of displeasure. You can't expect me to talk with the apple core. Ningshu reached out to Jinwei. Throw it away. Jinwei was so angry that he let out a long breath. He took the apple core from Ningshu's hand and threw it into the trash can. He sat opposite Ningshu and bared his teeth. The place where the apple hit his body was red and swollen, and it was burning. Then let's talk. Jinwei looked at Ningshu and said, Do you really want to live like this with me? Why can't we live like this? Because I'm sick now, and you want to divorce me. Ningshu propped his chin up and said, In order to avoid trouble, you want to get rid of me. You can't dump me like this. Then what do you want? The family doesn't want a daughter-in-law like you. You're an unqualified daughter-in-law. Jinwei's mother said loudly, How can you shamelessly stay in this family? Ningshu ignored the noisy mother-in-law and glanced at the family's father and son. He said indifferently, Drag it out as long as you can. Anyway, you can't get a divorce within a year. Moreover, you cheated and are the wrong party in the marriage. What do you think will happen in court? Ningshu raised his phone. If I hand this phone to the judge and get a divorce because of cheating, I don't know what your colleagues will think of you. Are you threatening me? Jinwei said with a cold face. Ningshu nodded. I'm threatening you. Then what do you want? What do you want? Jinwei looked at the phone in Ningshu's hand. Under certain conditions, I can satisfy you. It's not impossible for me to get a divorce. If you want the things in the phone, it depends on what price you can offer. It has to be a price that I'm satisfied with. Take note, this is something you bought, so I set the price, Ningshu said casually. Chapter 948. As Ningshu spoke, she dug at her fingernails, then turned them over to look at her hands. She clicked her tongue and said, It's been less than 2 years since I got married, but my face has turned yellow, my hands have become rough, and my waist and back are aching. I don't want to hear this. What do you want? How much do you want? Jinwei said impatiently. Look at the price you're offering. Ningshu said. $20,000. Jinwei stretched out 2 fingers. Ningshu. Sigh. Ningshu flicked his fingernails. 200,000, and the child will be raised by you. Otherwise, we won't divorce. 200,000? Why don't you go to heaven? Jinwei's mother jumped up in fright. Getting married and getting divorced for 200,000? You're cheating. You're leaving and leaving the child behind. You want to take 200,000 and have fun? Dream on. Jinwei's mother pointed at Ningshu. Do you think you're young, Yuhuan? You can sell it for 200,000? Ningshu dug his ears. How many times do I have to say it? I'm selling something. If you buy your son's reputation again, you'll piss me off. Tomorrow, I'll post this video online and send it to your colleague's mailbox. Oh right, after the divorce, you still want to get married. After you get married, you have to treat my daughter well. Otherwise, I'll come back. I'll make everyone restless. Ning Shu said with a smile. And Jinwei was angered by Ning Shu to the point that his chest violently heaved up and down. His face was ashen as he said in disgust, "You're such a disgusting woman. You can even abandon your own flesh and blood. Hypocritical and vain. Why did I marry you in the first place? Don't tell me I don't want to start over? It's not good for me to marry again with a burden. Besides, Nan Nan is your family's blood," Ning Shu said indifferently. He was speechless in his heart. He couldn't even fulfill his responsibility as a father. Yet he wanted a woman to show maternal love and love for her child. If she didn't love her child, then she wasn't a good woman. If a man had to choose between a house and a child, he would definitely choose the house. The child would be given birth to by a woman. How expensive would the house be? Ning Shu played with his phone. If you hesitate any longer, I'm going to release the video. Jinwei, come here. I have something to tell you. And Jinwei's mother tugged at her son's clothes. And Jinwei followed Jinwei's mother to the balcony. And Jinwei's mother said in a low voice, "Jinwei, you can't let that girl stay. If you really divorce Chen Ning, you'll definitely get married again. With such a girl around, the girl won't be willing to be a stepmother. Give this girl to Chen Ning. Also, 200,000 yuan is too much. She still wants 200,000 yuan. I can't give it to her. I definitely can't give it to her." When Jinwei's mother said 200,000 yuan, her face trembled with pain. "I understand." And Jinwei nodded. He walked into the living room and sat on the sofa. Ning Shu said, "I'll give you 50,000. The child is yours." It seems that there's no need to talk about it anymore. Ning Shu stood up and stretched. "Actually, I don't want to divorce. As for your infidelity, I can tolerate it. Let's raise Nan Nan well, and let her have a happy family. How about that? By the way, this video. If you have a one-night stand next time, I'll directly post it on the community forum. You'll be pointed at as soon as you go out." Ning Shu and Jinwei smiled gently, and turned to go back to the room to rest. "Wait a minute. Since you're not satisfied, I can still talk about it." And Jinwei said. Ning Shu said impatiently, "Don't you understand human language? I'm selling things. You're buying things. You're giving a beggar so little money. I won't sell at the price you offered. Also, this child is your family's blood. What do you mean by insisting that I raise her? Don't be so high and mighty." Ning Shu rolled his eyes. "Anyway, I'm sick now. I'll rely on you for as long as I can. By the way, I won't do housework in the future. Maybe I'll go crazy and pour hot oil on your face." Ning Shu said with a smile. "Sit down. Business is all about talking. Since you're not satisfied with the price, we'll just increase it." And Jinwei's father stared at Ning Shu and said. Ning Shu tilted his head and sat down. "I want 200,000. Not a penny less. The child is yours. 80,000. The child is yours." And Jinwei said, "We won't take this child. This child will affect my remarriage." Ning Shu was not surprised that the Yin family did not want the child. The child was not welcome from birth. Ning Shu was definitely going to take the child away. He could imagine how the child would be treated in the future if he stayed. Ning Shu shook her head. "No, 200,000. I can't have the child. I want to pursue my own happiness. The child might affect your remarriage, but does that mean it will affect mine? Will the man I marry in the future be willing to raise someone else's child? After all, this child belongs to your family. If I raise a child, what will I do?" Ning Shu's face was full of dissatisfaction. "I don't want this child. You're her mother. Why don't you want it?" And Jinwei's mother looked at Ning Shu with eyes full of disdain. "You're her grandparents. You're still her father. Why don't you raise her?" Ning Shu rolled his eyes. 100,000. The child is yours. Then you have to give me the video. And Jinwei said, "This is my bottom line. If you don't agree, then I'll wait for a year and divorce you. Then you won't get anything." Ning Shu shrugged indifferently. "It'll only take half a minute to upload this video to the community forum. If I insist on not divorcing and tolerate your mistakes and your infidelity, the judge won't divorce us." And Jinwei took a deep breath and exhaled deeply. Ning Shu's shamelessness had probably angered him to the point of being speechless. Chen Ning, don't be so ruthless. We'll meet again in the future, and Jinwei's father said. Ning Shu looked surprised. How can we meet again in the future? We're enemies now. How can we be friends in the future? It's normal that we don't talk to each other. Then what do you want? And Jinwei pulled his tie irritably. 200,000 is impossible. Chen Ning, don't push me too far. 150,000. The child is yours. And Jinwei said, this is my last price. Since you agree, then forget it. I can only think of other ways. I can't guarantee what will happen. Ning Shu glanced at the Yin family's faces. This was probably their bottom line. Ning Shu curled his lips. 180,000. I don't want the child. 150,000. The child is yours, and Jinwei said. Ning Shu looked annoyed. 150,000. I don't want the child. If you don't want the child, then give the child to me. Chapter 949. Anyway, the price has been set, 150,000. Now it's the problem of ownership of the child. And family doesn't want children, and Ning Shu doesn't want children. Now the child is being kicked around like a ball, and they don't want it. 150,000, I'll give you the child. Tomorrow morning, we'll get the divorce certificate together. And Jinwei said, I can't. I'll get the divorce certificate first. If you don't give me the money and give me the child back, who will I cry to? Ning Shu rolled his eyes. Don't you still have my video? And Jinwei rubbed his eyebrows and said. Ning Shu shook his head. Sometimes it's terrible when people are shameless. If you divorce first, you won't care about this video at all. What if I give you the money and you don't divorce? And Jinwei said. As long as you give me the money, I'll definitely divorce you and give you the memory card immediately. Ning Shu said. And Jinwei rubbed his forehead. If you lie to me, I'll go to your mother's house to make trouble. Anyway, no one can live in peace. Okay, anyway, the monk can run but the temple can't run. Ning Shu yawned. Then tomorrow we'll go to the bank to transfer the money. I'm going to sleep first. Ning Shu turned his head and said, don't expect to steal my cell phone at night. There's a fruit knife under my pillow. If I stab someone when I'm in a trance, I may not be able to guarantee what will happen. Good night, have a good sleep and have a good dream. Ning Shu said with a sweet smile. Ning Shu took the child back to the room. Looking at the sleeping child, he sighed. He didn't know anything about the child. Ning Shu put the child on the crib and began to sit cross-legged on the bed to cultivate. He cultivated until the next morning. Ning Shu changed the baby's diaper, fed him milk, carried him on his back and left the bedroom. And family was sitting at the dining table early in the morning. There were fried dough sticks, soy milk and porridge on the table. Ning Shu sat down and ate breakfast. The Yin family members didn't look too good. It was obvious that they hadn't slept much all night. And Jinwei's mother looked at Ning Shu with eyes as sharp as knives. Hearing the sound of Ning Shu eating porridge, she couldn't help but say, the Yin family has 8 lifetimes of bad luck to have a daughter-in-law like you. Yes, you must have done too many immoral things in your previous lives. Ning Shu said with a smile. If I don't want a child, then you really don't want this child. This is the blood of your Yin family. Who wants this girl? Ever since she was born, the Yin family hasn't lived a good life. They haven't lived a peaceful life. She's a jinx, a debt collector. And Jinwei's mother said in disgust. Ning Shu pursed his lips. Fortunately, this child didn't know anything now. If the child could remember and be sensible, who knew how he would feel after hearing this? What era was this? Still so patriarchal. And family was really a suffocating place. There was no warmth of family, only indifference and a utilitarian hierarchy. If you don't want her, then give her to me. Ning Shu was very dissatisfied and said to Jinwei, we'll transfer the money to the bank later. After breakfast, the family went out. When they arrived at the bank, Jinwei said, if you lie to me, I will never forgive you. One hand over the money, one hand over the goods. Ning Shu said lightly, I don't have a job. I have to support my children. I need money very much. Why would I lie to you? And Jinwei took a deep breath and asked Ningshu for the bank account number. He went to the counter to transfer the money. Ningshu sat on the chair and waited. A few minutes later, Ningshu received a text message from the bank. Her card already had 150,000 yuan. Give me the thing. And Jinwei reached out to Ningshu. Ningshu gave the phone to Jinwei. I'm not sure if you have a backup. And Jinwei said, I'll give you the phone. Ningshu gave the phone to Jinwei. And Jinwei took the phone and glanced at Ningshu. His fingers slid over and over again before he gave the phone to Ningshu. Go to the Civil Affairs Bureau. And Jinwei said coldly. Ningshu rolled his eyes. When the two arrived at the Civil Affairs Bureau, and Jinwei seemed to be afraid that Ningshu would go back on his word and use the fastest speed to get the divorce certificate. Ningshu also made herself Nanan's guardian and signed the document. From then on, Nanan was her child and had nothing to do with family. After leaving the Civil Affairs Bureau, and Jinwei let out a sigh of relief. Ningshu also let out a sigh of relief in his heart. To be able to get such a result was not easy. Now go home and pack up your things. Hurry and leave my house. And Jinwei directly got into the car and left without even looking at Ningshu. Ningshu's face was indifferent. He first found a hotel to settle down. Ningshu first went to book a room and then slowly went home. As soon as she got home, Ningshu saw the clothes in the living room piled up in a mess. The suitcase was thrown on the floor, and Jinwei's mother was sitting on the sofa with a condescending look on her face. Get out of my house after you took the money. Ningshu was expressionless. Who did this to my clothes? This makes me very unhappy. When I'm unhappy, I can't guarantee what I do. When I go crazy, even I'm afraid of myself. Tidy up my clothes and put them in the suitcase. Otherwise, I'll smash all the pots and pans in your house today. Ningshu was eager to try, and Jinwei's mother's face darkened. She wanted to show off her might. She didn't expect this woman to be so arrogant when she was about to be kicked out. Pack it up for her. And Jinwei's father impatiently said to his wife, don't make trouble. And Jinwei's mother could only fold the messy clothes and put them in the box. She was very dissatisfied. In front of outsiders, she didn't know how to give her face. Things are packed. You should hurry up and leave. And family can't keep a big Buddha like you. And Jinwei's father said, yes, it can't accommodate me. My future is the sea of stars, not the pot. Ningshu sat on the sofa, picked up an apple, and wiped it on her clothes. Then, she began to chew on it. And Jinwei's father looked at Ningshu's arrogant appearance. As an elder, I'll tell you, with your character, no matter where you go, you won't have a good life. You think you'll have a good life after leaving family? Yes, I think I'll have a good life after leaving family. Ningshu nodded. At least I don't have to serve your family. Don't talk to me about what a daughter-in-law should do. I don't buy it now. In this society, I can't make a living. I have to live like a slave under your hands. Ningshu threw the apple core into the trash can. And Jinwei's father's face was cold. Then I'd like to see which family can tolerate your unforgiving temper. Chapter 950. Haha, I also opened my eyes wide to see what kind of daughter-in-law you can find. She has no complaints, and is willing to work hard without complaint. Ningshu said with a smile. Don't treat women as fools. Anyway, it's not a daughter-in-law like you. And Jinwei's mother closed the box and threw it to Ningshu. Take it and get out. Ningshu stood up and went out with the box. And Jinwei's mother followed behind Ningshu and waited until Ningshu went out. Get out. Then she slammed the door. Ningshu smiled and put the box on the ground. Then she banged on the door and wailed. Grandma, don't drive me away. Please, I will control my temper in the future. My depression will definitely be cured. Grandma, don't drive us away. Where should we go? Ningshu banged on the door with all her might, wailing at the top of her lungs. I'll definitely recover. I don't need to take any medicine for my illness. It won't cost a lot of money. I just need some time to adjust. Grandma, husband, you can't abandon me and the child. Ning Shu's crying and knocking on the door woke up the child on her back. The child also wailed. The neighbor opposite opened the door and saw Ning Shu leaning on the door with tears and snot on her face. They asked, "Mrs. N, what's wrong with you?" "My husband doesn't want us anymore. He wants to divorce me. I don't know where the child and I are going." Ning Shu banged on the door. "Grandma, please let us in. Chen Ning, you are so shameless. You have already divorced Jinwei. Why are you still here? You should get out of here after taking the money. Isn't 150,000 yuan enough for you?" And Jinwei's mother opened the door and saw that the corridor was full of onlookers. Ning Su cried and said, "Grandma, don't drive us away. I'm sick and can't take care of the child. Please. Get out. I've never seen a woman as shameless as you." And Jinwei's mother was so angry that her whole body trembled. She slammed the door. Ning Shu coaxed the crying child as he carried the suitcase away. As he walked, he sobbed softly and wiped away his tears. After leaving the neighborhood, Ning Shu hailed a taxi and went to the hotel. Ning Shu put the child on the bed, took a bath, and then hugged the child to sleep. Not sleeping for a long time was unbearable. Although it was possible to cultivate, not sleeping all the time would cause a person's spirit to collapse. The biological clock of humans was to work at sunrise and rest at sunset. Finally, they could have a good sleep. Ning Shu and his child slept until the next morning. After waking up, Ning Shu turned on his phone and saw a lot of missed calls from Chen Ning's mother. It seemed that she knew about her divorce. Ning Shu took the child out of the hotel and bought some breakfast, as well as some health supplements and gifts, before she planned to return to her mother's home. Ning Shu pressed the doorbell. Chen Ning's mother opened the door and saw Ning Shu. She immediately pulled Ning Shu in angrily. "What did I tell you before? In the end, you didn't even say a word to your family before getting a divorce. You even brought a child with you." Chen Ning's mother said angrily. "I told you, and Jinwei's family is quite well off. He has a job and a stable job. He also has various subsidies every month. After calculating everything, his monthly salary is not small. He will have a retirement salary in the future, and he is the only son. In the future, the family will be his and yours." Chen Ning's mother was very angry. "You didn't tell me or your father about this. Women are not popular when they get divorced. Women are the ones who suffer when they get divorced. Moreover, you have a child. Are you crazy?" Ning Shu listened to Chen Ning's mother's nagging indifferently and didn't say a word. Anyway, she was complaining about her divorce. Chen Ning's brother grabbed his messy hair and walked out of the room in flip-flops. He looked like he hadn't woken up yet. When he saw Ning Shu, he called her sister and then sat down at the table to eat breakfast. "Sister, I heard that you got divorced. Brother-in-law gave you 150,000 yuan. Chen Ning's brother, Ning Shu, asked. Ning Shu said indifferently, "That's not true. It's just the family pretending to be rich." 150,000? Is there really 150,000 yuan? Chen Ning's mother, Ning Shu, asked. Then she said, "Where did you go last night? I called you all night. I was so worried. I stayed in a hotel. I didn't have a room to sleep when I came back," Ning Shu said. Chen Ning's brother swallowed a mouthful of fried dough sticks. Ning Shu said, "Sister, can you lend me tens of thousands of yuan? After I get married, I will go to work. It's more convenient to have a car." Ning Shu was expressionless. "I don't have any money. Didn't brother-in-law give you 150,000 yuan? Chen Ning's brother frowned and said, "Don't tell me you don't want to give it to me. Don't worry, I will definitely return it to you." Ning Shu thought, return? Haha. The dowry money was not enough, and now he wanted to buy a car. Was he trying to suck the marrow out of her? "Chen Ning, if you really have 150,000 yuan, lend some to your brother," Chen Ning's mother said. Ning Shu asked back, "Why should I? I am a divorced woman. If I give you the money, how am I going to live? I have a child to raise. You want me to stay at home? You are brother and sister. You should take care of each other," Chen Ning's mother said. "Why should I give it to him? He is just my brother, not his mother. Do I have to give everything to him?" Ning Shu put down the nutritional supplements in her hand and said, "This is what I bought for you and Dad. Remember to eat it." I'm leaving now. Ning Shu did not plan to live in the Chen family, and the Chen family did not have a room for her. She was just living under someone else's roof with a burden. Her brother was going to get married soon, and she would have another sister-in-law living under the same roof. She did not know how she would be despised. She would be gossiped about every day. I just want to borrow some money from you. It's not like I won't return it to you. Why are you so stingy? Chen Ning's brother said unhappily. I am so stingy. I just won't lend it to you. Besides, I don't have any money. This society was very indifferent. This was a materialistic world. Emotions, love, and so on were no match for money. Ning Shu turned around and was about to leave. She already had a plan in mind. She was ready to leave the city and go somewhere else to develop. Otherwise, these two people would stare at the little money in her hand and think of all kinds of ways to take the money from her. Today they would buy a car. Tomorrow they might buy this or that. They would say that they were borrowing from her, but in the end, they would not return it at all. They did not consider how she, a child of a divorced woman, should live. When she returned to the Chen family, she was just a person with no status. She had to do everything and had to face cold eyes. Mom, I'm leaving. Remember to eat the food. This is what I squeezed out of my teeth to show filial piety to you too. Ning Shu turned around and left. Chapter 951. Ning Shu put the gift on the sofa and turned to leave. He didn't want to have anything to do with Chen Ning's family. In just one night, the Chen family knew that he was divorced, and that he still had 150,000 yuan. Ning Shu sometimes felt that fate was a strange circle. Chen Ning was born into such a family, and the magnetic field of fate attracted people like the Yin family. Fate was a circle. You felt that you had turned a corner, but in fact, you didn't jump out of the circle at all. No matter how many corners you turned, it was still the same. Crawling out of a hole might lead to falling into another hole not long after. Some people fell into the pit and never climbed up again. They stayed in the pit and suffered bitterly. Some fell into the pit and stubbornly tried to start again. However, there was a possibility that they would fall into another pit and be tormented until they were riddled with scars. No matter how hard they struggled at first, they would eventually return to their own track. Such a fate was heavily influenced by the outside world, but it also had its own reasons. It was because of all kinds of compromises and helplessness. Ning Shu sighed and left with the child on his back. Chen Ning, why are you leaving? Chen Ning's mother stopped Ning Shu. Have you had breakfast? Your father went for a walk and will be back soon. Wait for him. Where are you going to stay if you leave? Chen Ning's mother pulled Ning Shu's arm. Come back and stay. Ning Shu said. There's no room for me at home. Didn't the house get through? I won't wait for Dad to come back. Say hello to Dad for me. Ning Shu said and pulled Chen Ning's mother's hand away. Mom. Chen Ning's brother said impatiently. She doesn't want to stay at home. Why do you have to make her stay? Are you afraid that we will rob her of her money? If she wants to leave, let her go. Chen Ning's brother rolled his eyes and said. Ning Shu nodded expressionlessly. I think my brother is right. To be honest, I really want to beat you up. Ning Shu sneered. I'm just afraid that a vampire like you will suck my money away. You're such a useless old man. Who are you calling a good-for-nothing? What are you so proud of? She's just a woman who was abandoned and divorced. Chen Ning's brother slammed the bowl down and said with a livid face. Chen Ning's mother immediately scolded her son. What are you talking about? Your sister just got divorced and you're poking at her sore spot. What kind of brother are you? After Chen Ning's mother finished scolding her son, she turned to Ning Shu and said, You are brother and sister. You have to support each other in the future. Even if you want to get married in the future, you still have to rely on your brother's support. When Ning Shu heard this, she almost spat. She was wronged in the Yin family, but her younger brother came over and didn't even say a word of concern. Last time, when she jumped off a building, only Chen Ning's mother came to visit her and told her not to get a divorce. If she counted on such a person to support her, in her next life, and the life after that, It was better to rely on herself than on anyone else. Ningxu turned and left. When she went downstairs, she met Chen Ning's father in the stairwell. Chen Ning's father saw Ningxu and was stunned for a moment. He then asked, "Where are you going? Come back with me." "I'm going out to do something." Ningxu left. Back at the hotel, Ningxu took out her suitcase, bought tickets online, and prepared to leave. Ningxu turned to the child who was sleeping soundly on her back. "Baby, we're leaving now." Ningxu dragged her suitcase and left the room. She pulled the suitcase out of the hotel door and looked at the cars coming and going. She was alone and seemed very lonely. However, it was very carefree. She finally didn't have to face those people. She couldn't feel the warmth of being with them. It was better to be alone. Ningxu took a car to the airport. While waiting for the plane, Ningxu uploaded her recording to the community's forum. Although she gave the video to Jinwei, she also recorded it. What she recorded was Jinwei saying that she had a reason for cheating. Ningxu smiled and uploaded the recording to the forum. Then her phone rang. It was Chen Ning's mother. Ningxu answered the phone and Chen Ning's mother's reproachful voice came from the other side. "Where have you been? Come back quickly. We can discuss anything. Don't run around with the child. Come back and continue with your confinement. You haven't finished your confinement yet. Your brother's words aren't nice, but that's his temper. He still cares about you," Chen Ning's mother said. "Come back quickly with the child. This is your first child. Do you know how to take care of a child?" "Mom, I'm going to live in another place for a while. You don't have to worry about me," Ningxu said lightly. "Where are you going? It's dangerous for a woman to take a child to another place. Don't be angry. Come back quickly. Your brother is going to get married soon. Don't you want to come back for the wedding?" Chen Ning's mother said immediately with dissatisfaction. "You're my daughter. Do you want to cut ties with us by doing this?" Chen Ning's mother said angrily. "I raised you, but you didn't tell me or your father when you got divorced. You got divorced on your own. Do you think your parents are so shallow that they only care about the money in your pocket?" "Of course," Ningxu said. "I just want to walk around. You don't have to worry about me. I'm going to board the plane. I'll hang up first." Ningxu hung up the phone, then took out the SIM card, broke it and threw it into the trash can. The airport informed them to board the plane. Ningxu sat on the chair with the child in her arms, looking at the blue sky and white clouds outside the window. Sometimes family is a burden. We are all living for others. Just a few years for ourselves to do what we want to do. So what if she went back to her mother's home? She still had to face endless complaints and attacks. Ningxu looked at the child in her arms. It was white and tender. Speaking of which, how many times had she been a nanny? In the past, she was a nanny. This time, she was a real nanny and had to feed the child. Ningxu kept looking at the sky outside the window. She let out a long sigh and let out the depression and irritation in her heart. Even if Ningxu didn't see Jinwei as her husband, she was still angry. What's more, Chen Ning relied on her husband. How desperate it was. Now she was finally free. Marriage was to warm and support each other. But such a cold union would only make people desperate and painful. After experiencing so many worlds, Ningxu felt that there was nothing more practical than living on her own, and living with dignity. It was better to marry well than to do well. So the question was it easier to marry well than to do well? Women still had to pay attention to their own growth. A dependent marriage would not last long. Chapter 952. A dependent marriage won't last long. Then there's another problem. If I did a good job, why should I marry you? I can take care of myself, so why should I marry you? After more than an hour's flight, they finally arrived at the city chosen by Ningxu. The city's economy was prosperous, and there were many opportunities. More importantly, there were many universities in the city. Ningxu carefully calculated the money she had. The money could be used for a few years. During this time, Ningxu planned to study for a bachelor's degree. Then she would get a lawyer's certificate. After thinking about it, Ningxu still planned to be a lawyer. If she did business, she didn't have much money in her hands, and she had a child to take care of. She would rely on 100,000 yuan to support herself until she could join the workforce. The social norms required certificates to engage in various industries. It was not like the ancient times when Ning Shu could set up a fortune-telling stall or make some Chinese medicine facial masks. Now the modern world has a lot of restrictions. She can't do these things without a certificate. Without a certificate, it is illegal. Ning Shu didn't want to be detained and fined. Ning Shu found a small hotel to live in first. She bought a SIM card and inserted it into her mobile phone. Ning Shu took the child to find a place to live and a house to settle down. The house in the city center was too expensive. Ning Shu didn't rent a house in the city center. Instead, she rented a small house with 1 living room and 1 bathroom in the suburbs. The rent was more than 1,000 yuan a month. Ning Shu was very satisfied with the house. It was good for her to live alone with her child. After signing the contract with the landlord, Ning Shu returned to the hotel and took the box to the rented room. The landlord looked at Ning Shu, a woman with a child, and couldn't help but ask, "You live alone. Where's your husband?" "I'm divorced," Ning Shu said. The landlord looked at Ning Shu with some pity in her eyes. Of course, there was a little disdain in her eyes. In this society, as long as there was a divorce, people basically thought that the woman was not good enough and the husband's family didn't want her. Ning Shu directly ignored the landlord's eyes. This kind of eyes was better than dying in the house. There was no perfect thing in the world. Ning Shu went to the supermarket to buy all kinds of daily necessities, including blankets and other things. After that, he cleaned every nook and cranny of the house, and the room immediately looked brand new. Then they started a new life. Ning Shu couldn't hide the excitement in his heart. He didn't have to wake up every morning to see a worrisome family. She clearly existed, yet he still ignored her. After settling down, Ning Shu began to choose a law school. Chen Ning had only graduated from junior high school. For girls, once they graduated from junior high school, they could work to earn money. Then they could get married and have children. After that, they could serve their family like cattle or horses. Many women did not have doubts about their own lives, because everyone had been like this. When they reached the age, the elders would hurriedly marry them off. If you do not live according to the rules of the world, you will be condemned and talked about. This kind of self-study university usually had classes at night. During the day, Ning Shu bought a lot of law books to read. Ning Shu had the skills to be a lawyer. He went to class to obtain a certificate. Moreover, lawyers had to take the test 1 level at a time. However, Ning Shu was a little embarrassed now. She had to take the child to class. She always had to face the strange looks of others. Sometimes the child would cry. Ning Shu could only apologize to the teacher. What was more embarrassing was that after a class, Ning Shu's chest would be wet because her breasts were swollen. After class, she had to go to the toilet to feed the child. Ning Shu would only sit at the back of the classroom. This was only temporary. It would get better slowly. The suffering now was for a better future. During the day, he memorized the law at home and went to class at night. If there was a judicial exam, Ning Shu would leave the child in the nursery for a few hours. After the exam was over, Ning Shu would bring the child back. Nan had never left Ning Shu's side since she was young. The first time he sent her to the nursery, she cried her heart out. Nan now had less time to sleep. Most of the time, she would walk around with her eyes open and dance. Her mouth would make ah sounds. When Ning Shu was reading, he would either touch her little hands or feet. Nan was very healthy. In just over 2 months, she would be able to prop her neck up and look around. Ning Shu only had one feeling. Damn, being a nanny was so tough. Because Ning Shu had the skills of a lawyer, the judicial exam was very easy. As for Ning Shu throwing the bomb and running away, it made Jinwei suffer. The things that Ning Shu threw on the forum were thrown on the community forum. This kind of forum was set up by the property management. There were all kinds of complaining posts or all kinds of gossip and entertainment posts. The things that Ning Shu threw on the forum caused a heated discussion. The people below said that Jinwei was a scumbag and a straight man cancer. He was an ungrateful person who forced his sick wife to divorce and not have children. Previously, the Yin family forced their daughter-in-law to jump off a building. Now they were having an affair, and they were so shameless. Every time Jinwei went out, he always felt that the people in the community looked at him strangely. 3 to 5 people gathered together and whispered in his ear. They even pointed at him. Even when he went to the company, there were people looking at him strangely. It was Jinwei's father who was playing with the old man in the neighborhood. The old man then asked Jinwei's father if he was forcing his daughter-in-law to get a divorce and not want a child, blah, 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 blah. Jinwei's father was a person who cared a lot about his reputation. When he heard these words, he was so angry that he went home and told Jinwei. Jinwei opened the community forum and saw Ning Shu's post. This post was very popular. There were all kinds of thoughts in it. Many women said that Ning Shu was right to get a divorce. Marrying such a scumbag was better than dying. He was so arrogant even though he had an affair. Jinwei looked at the post and his face became uglier. Most of the posts were scolding him. Jinwei was so angry that he trembled as he took out his phone and called Ning Shu. This bitch, she had obviously given him the money, but she didn't keep her word. She even posted something on the internet. Not only did she take pictures, but she also recorded it. She was blaming him for everything. In the end, the phone number was not in service. Jinwei was so angry that he smashed the phone. Jinwei's father felt embarrassed and rarely went out to play chess or cards. Jinwei was so angry that he ran to the Chun family to find Ning Shu. He insisted that Ning Shu give him an explanation. He took the money and didn't keep his word. He actually exposed the matter. Jinwei went to the Chun family and was told that Ning Shu wasn't at home. Jinwei didn't believe it at all. He barged into the house and looked everywhere, but he couldn't find Ning Shu. Chapter 953. Jinwei didn't believe that Ning Shu wasn't at home. Although he didn't like Chen Ning, he knew a little about her. People like her had nowhere to go after a divorce. Jinwei couldn't think of anywhere else Chen Ning could go. Jinwei thought that Chen Ning must have gone somewhere to hide from him. So he secretly waited for Chen Ning to come back. However, after waiting for a few days, he didn't see her. Jinwei heard that the Chen family didn't know where Chen Ning went. Jinwei thought that the crazy woman must have taken the money he gave her and ran away with another man. Jinwei's face was cold, and he looked like he was going to kill someone at any time. Because he wasn't the one who posted the post, he couldn't delete it at all. He could only ask the forum administrator to delete the post. He found that the post wasn't only on this forum. Some people also reposted the post to other places, and its influence was getting bigger and bigger. Jinwei hated Ning Shu so much that if Ning Shu was standing in front of him, he would eat Ning Shu. Jinwei's mother was even more annoyed. Previously, when she was playing mahjong with the auntie in the community, she said that she wanted to introduce a daughter-in-law to her and let them meet. Now, she was directly rejected and said that she already had a new girlfriend. Jinwei was originally married for the second time. In fact, a second marriage wasn't a big deal. Although he had a child, the child was given to the woman. Jinwei's family and job were stable. However, it was exposed by Ning Shu that Jinwei had forced his wife to jump off a building. Now he had an affair and abandoned his sick wife like that. This kind of man couldn't be relied on for life. Who could guarantee that they wouldn't be sick or suffering for life? Once something happened, he abandoned you. He was so cold and heartless. Previously, when Jinwei's mother found a daughter-in-law for her son, it was like an emperor choosing a concubine. She had to choose carefully. She couldn't marry another daughter-in-law like Chen Ning, a rebellious and irritable daughter-in-law who would hit people at the slightest provocation. Jinwei's mother also had a secret idea, which was to let her son have a child with a girl first. If the child was a boy, they would get married. Moreover, they had to see if the child would have postpartum depression. Jinwei's mother's heart skipped a beat when she heard about depression. She had been beaten up by her previous daughter-in-law and had lost 150,000 yuan. Adding the 100,000 yuan from the previous betrothal gift, she had lost 250,000 yuan after marrying a new daughter-in-law. Jinwei's mother couldn't sleep at night whenever she thought of the money. But now, there was no one to introduce her to girls. They were either introducing divorced women with children. And Jinwei's mother was so angry that she almost couldn't control herself, and turned the table over. And family still wanted to raise other people's children. She thought so beautifully. Was her son only worthy of marrying a woman who had married twice? And Jinwei's mother felt insulted. Moreover, these women would gather together to speak ill of her son. As long as Jinwei's mother heard the topic of her son, she would explode like a firecracker and scold them. Everyone said that Jinwei's mother was an evil mother-in-law who forced her son and daughter-in-law to divorce. Her reputation was getting worse and worse. And Jinwei's mother was so angry that she wanted to die. It was clearly that woman who was strutting around at home and did nothing all day long. How did she become an evil mother-in-law? In the face of these rumors, Jinwei's mother didn't like to go out much. The old couple stayed at home every day and looked at each other. They thought that without Chen Ning, their daughter-in-law, life in the Yin family would be better. In the end, the atmosphere was still the same as before. And Jinwei's father was a person who cared a lot about his face. He could starve and freeze, but he couldn't lose his face. He didn't expect that he would have to bear such a thing when he was old. And Jinwei's father felt uncomfortable, so he got angry at his wife. You didn't even take care of your daughter-in-law when she was in confinement. She was fine and she got sick. You even need me to take care of her after giving birth to a girl. Didn't you tell me to take good care of her? You don't like that girl either. And Jinwei's mother retorted, feeling wronged. I said a few words to you, but you still refuted. If you had treated her a little better, she wouldn't have done such a thing. And Jinwei's father widened his eyes and said, that woman isn't a good person either. She did such a thing. She's vicious. That's right, a black-hearted person. And Jinwei's mother began to nag at Ning Shu. She kept cursing Ning Shu. Although his reputation wasn't good now, and Jinwei didn't lower his standards for a spouse at all. He had to be a good woman with a gentle and considerate personality who could treat him well. He couldn't be a bitch like Chen Ning. And Jinwei wasn't in a hurry to remarry. When he lacked women, he would find a woman online to have sex and find a woman to play with. Ning Shu didn't know about the Yin family's matters. She had passed the judicial exam, and now needed to find a law firm to be an intern and get a lawyer's license. If she wanted to be an intern, her child would be a problem. She couldn't bring her child to work, right? Therefore, once a woman got married and had children, she had to sacrifice too many things. For the sake of her family and her child, she had to sacrifice a lot. The child was still young and couldn't leave her side. However, if she didn't intern at a law firm, how could she get a lawyer's license in the future? Ning Shu sighed and began to browse the law firm's situation online. Who would hire a person who brought a child to work? Sigh. However, Ning Shu saw that the boss of a law firm was actually a woman. Ning Shu felt that she could give it a try. After all, she was a woman and could empathize with some things. Ning Shu could accept a lower salary. The main reason was that she could only get a lawyer's license after becoming an intern. Ning Shu was prepared to apply for a job at this law firm. Her professional knowledge was not a problem. It was this child. Ning Shu went to the law firm to apply for an intern, but when they heard that she was going to work with a child, they rejected her without thinking. This wasn't a kindergarten. This was a place filled with professional and elite lawyers. A woman with a child turned a good law firm into a wet market. Ning Shu wasn't disappointed. Which place would accept a woman working with a child? She would only care about taking care of the child. How could she work? Ning Shu waited at the entrance of the law firm. She wanted to wait for the female boss of the law firm to talk to her. The female boss of the law firm drove a red sports car. She was dressed in beautiful clothes, had curly hair, and wore toed sunglasses. She was a flamboyant and beautiful woman. She was like a ball of fire. The female boss got out of the sports car. Ning Shu quickly ran to her and handed her his business card. Although he wasn't a lawyer yet, Ning Shu still pretended to print some business cards. The female boss pushed her sunglasses down the bridge of her nose. She glanced at the business card in Ning Shu's hand and read in a clear voice, "Intern lawyer, Chen Ning?" Chapter 954. The lady boss glanced at the business card and glanced at Ning Shu. Her gaze paused on the child on Ning Shu's back. I don't know you. If you're looking for something, I'm sorry. I have a case to go to court later. The lady boss took her bag and left. She had a slim figure and looked very beautiful. Beauty was secondary. This woman had unparalleled confidence. This confidence beauty surpassed the beauty of her face. The lady boss said that she wanted to go to court, so Ning Shu planned to go to court to listen. In the courtroom, the female boss had changed out of her fiery red dress into a suit. Her hair was neatly combed, and she spoke frankly in the courtroom. Her words were sharp as knives, which made Ning Shu's heart ripple. If he were a man, he would really like such a woman. Not every woman could live a life that everyone should live. Looking at the court, Ning Shu's hands and mouth were itching. He hadn't been to court for a long time. It felt so good to have a battle of words. The confrontation between the two sides was not about scolding each other. Instead, it was about finding each other's weaknesses and suppressing each other. The lady boss took over a business case. It seemed that the process was relatively easy. The case lasted for more than 2 hours. In the end, the other party asked for a private mediation. If the mediation failed, they would appeal. The lady boss left the court. Ning Shu carried the child and quickly followed. I'm quite thirsty. Let me treat you to coffee. The lady boss looked at Ning Shu and said. Ning Shu nodded. Okay. The lady boss took Ning Shu to the coffee shop. Ning Shu asked, what do you like to drink? Latte. Ning Shu said. The lady boss glanced at Ning Shu. So casual. You must like to grind iron. Actually, I don't drink coffee. Ning Shu said. I still have to feed the child. Waiter, give me a latte and a glass of juice. Tell me, why are you looking for me? Ning Shu asked. Ning Shu said, I want to apply for an internship at a law firm. I want to bring my child to work. When the coffee was served, the lady boss stirred the coffee and took a sip before saying, why should I hire you? You have a child. We'll talk about it when your child grows up. I'm divorced. Just take it that I'm playing the pity card. The child is mine. My hometown is in the neighboring city. I'm alone in this city, Ning Shu said with a smile. What value do you have for me to accept you bringing your child to work? The female boss stirred her coffee and said faintly. Ning Shu said, as long as I can be an intern at your law firm, I'll be able to go to court immediately after I pass and get a lawyer's license. So confident? The female boss raised her eyebrows. What if I can't? You won't lose anything by trying. If I don't pass, you can just fire me, Ning Shu said directly. Well, I'll test you on some legal provisions and cases. Tell me how to fight a lawsuit. The female boss gave Ning Shu a question. Ning Shu listened carefully and gave the answer and the specific plan. Ning Shu and the female boss stayed in the coffee shop for a long time. The female boss showed Ning Shu all the cases on her laptop. There were commercial cases, criminal cases, divorce cases, inheritance disputes, and all kinds of cases. She randomly picked a case and asked Ning Shu how to make a plan. Ning Shu could give the solution according to the legal provisions. The female boss and Ning Shu argued in court like opponents. They stayed in the coffee shop for a long time. Ning Shu appreciated the female boss very much. This woman's life was envied by many women. Both of them were thirsty and drank 2 glasses of water. The female boss said to Ning Shu, you'll work at the law firm tomorrow. You can go to court with your level. After the internship, hurry up and get your lawyer's license. Thank you, boss. Ning Shu said gratefully. My name is Chiu Li. They all call me Sister Li. You can call me that too. Sister Li said. Ning Shu said with some surprise. Sister Li, I might be older than you. I'm almost 30. I'm 32. Sister Li said. Ning Shu smiled and shouted, Sister Li. Ning Shu heaved a sigh of relief in her heart. She could finally go to work. Moreover, she had to bring her child to work. If she couldn't pass elder Sister Li's test today, she wouldn't be able to enjoy such treatment. Sister Li told Ning Shu to go to the law firm tomorrow and not be late. Then she left. Ning Shu went out of the coffee shop and went to the mall to buy a professional suit. The law firm was in the city center, and Ning Shu rented a house in the suburbs. There was still some distance to the law firm. It took half an hour by car. This Sister Li was really a capable woman. She had a law firm in the city center, where every inch of land was expensive. An office would cost a lot. The next morning, Ning Shu tidied herself up and brought her child to work. Ning Shu took a deep breath. She had already taken the first step. Things would definitely get better in the future. Ning Shu carried a child to work, which attracted a lot of strange looks. Because she was an intern lawyer, Ning Shu's job was to run errands and organize documents. Sister Li didn't treat Ning Shu differently. When she met Ning Shu in the law firm, she also ignored her. Ning Shu didn't care. She didn't create any value for the law firm. Being able to work in the law firm was already a good start. However, it was really hard to bring a child to work. She didn't know when the child would cry because of diarrhea or hunger. When the child cried, Ning Shu would quickly carry the child out of the office. She had disturbed these people, and they would have a lot of complaints. Ning Shu worked for a week. Many colleagues went to Sister Li to complain about Ning Shu, but Sister Li suppressed them. Sometimes, Ning Shu would hear some women talking behind her back in the toilet. They said that she was so poor that she brought her child to work and affected everyone's working mood. Ning Shu was a little speechless. These people didn't hold back when they ordered her to work, and she did it properly. Most of the attacks that women suffered came from women. Ning Shu opened the toilet and looked at the few women who were doing makeup in front of the mirror. She said faintly, "I'm so poor that I'm crazy. I don't believe that you won't get pregnant and have children in the future." The few women looked at Ning Shu with disdain. Speaking of which, these women weren't very capable. At most, they would do some documents and clerical work. The truly capable people in the law firm didn't have the time to gossip behind people's backs. They were busy taking cases, going to court, and negotiating with their clients. As long as they could get through this intern period, they would be able to go to court once they got their lawyer's certificate. What's a divorced woman so arrogant about? She's just an old woman. A woman said disdainfully, "You were just hiding inside to feed your child?" Chapter 955. Ning Shu thought that she didn't offend these people, and didn't cause any trouble for them. She did what she should do. She didn't do anything wrong. She was just an intern, an employee who could order her to run errands. Some people just did not like her. Some people liked to attack others, especially those who were weaker than them, to get psychological satisfaction. In this law firm, there was also a hierarchy. Those top lawyers who went to court were high and mighty existences in the law firm. These clerks were just low-level employees. Ning Shu was just an intern lawyer. Although she was called a lawyer, she was actually just a handyman who did all sorts of chores. Moreover, she was a divorced woman who brought her child to work and reeked of milk. These people only thought that they were nobler than Ning Shu, and found a sense of superiority over Ning Shu. Ning Shu said expressionlessly, "I'm an old hag. I don't believe that you will never grow old." Ning Shu went to the sink to wash her hands and left. She might as well do more things with the time. As long as she finished her internship, she could take the bar exam. Sister Li would occasionally ask Ning Shu about her work in the law firm. Ning Shu nodded her head and said that it was good. Ning Shu worked as an intern in the law firm for half a year. When the half year was up, Sister Li asked Ning Shu to take the bar exam. Ning Shu wanted to take the exam, so Sister Li took the initiative to help Ning Shu take care of the child. Nan Nan was already 1 year old. She could crawl around and walk 2 steps by herself. Compared to the storyline where she lost her life when she was half a year old, this child was at least alive now. Now that the child was weaned, she could eat some supplementary food and milk powder. Ning Shu was relieved. To be honest, she really did not like to breastfeed her child. Ning Shu's exam went smoothly. It did not take long for her to obtain her lawyer's license. The moment she received the license, Ning Shu could not hide her excitement. At least now, her fate had changed and it would get better in the future. As long as one's professional skills were good enough, they could still make a lot of money. To be honest, the law was only for the rich. It was a tool for the rich and powerful. If they won a case, they would get a lot of commission. After obtaining his lawyer license, Ningshu planned to treat elder sister Li to a meal. Elder sister Li did not stand on ceremony. She was probably afraid that Ningshu would not be able to afford it. She did not have much money to treat, so she asked Ningshu to find a random restaurant. Ningshu found a Chinese restaurant with a good environment. Sister Li raised her eyebrows and said, "You have the money to invite me to a place like this? The food here is not cheap." Ningshu held the child and said with a smile, "I have to treat you to a meal. Thank you for giving me this opportunity." "It's fine. My firm lacks a good lawyer," Sister Li said casually. "It must be tough to raise a child alone." "Yeah, it's pretty tough. I can only endure it like this," Ningshu said. With a child, everything was bound. It could be said that once a woman had a child, all aspects of her career would stagnate. "It's tough being a woman," Elder Sister Li said with a sigh. Ningshu could not help but laugh. "I actually envy you." "What's there to envy? I worry about the firm every day. To tell you the truth, I'm also divorced," Elder Sister Li said. "I always thought that you were not married," Ningshu said with a little surprise. Elder Sister Li shook her head. "Women can't escape the fate of marriage. Before I married my ex-husband, he was the one who chased me. He said that I was a legal beauty and he liked how I looked in court. Too many women threw themselves at him. I was annoyed, and he was also tired of me. When he knew that I was a lawyer, he did not want to go against me in court. He gave me a sum of money as compensation. I used the money to open a law firm. My father is a law professor in the school, so he has some connections. That's how the firm slowly grew." "Yeah, it's not easy for anyone," Ningshu sighed. Ningshu asked, "Have you ever thought of remarrying?" Elder Sister Li's expression was quite disdainful. "My mother asked me to go on blind dates every day. Those men looked at me from head to toe and even despised me for being remarried. When they heard that I had a law firm, they said that they wanted to run the firm with me. I would rather donate the money than give it to those men." Elder Sister Li rolled her eyes. "Even if no one wants me, I won't let myself marry such a man. Damn, he's retarded." Ningshu nodded. "Some men are quite despicable. They think that women like us have to marry them." "What about you? Why did you divorce your husband?" Elder Sister Li asked while eating. Ningshu said casually, "I gave birth to a daughter. My in-laws favored boys over girls. In addition, I had severe postpartum depression. My in-laws did not like me, so we divorced." "It's okay. It's all in the past. Work hard and raise the child well," Elder Sister Li comforted Ningshu. Ningshu nodded. "Thank you, Elder Sister Li." After eating, when they passed by a children's clothing store, Elder Sister Li bought a set of clothes for Nan Nan. Ningshu accepted it and thanked Elder Sister Li. Elder Sister Li was quite good to her. On one hand, it was because she was also a woman and could empathize with her. On the other hand, she hoped that Ningshu could work hard in the law firm. Ningshu did not intend to move as she was indebted to Elder Sister Li for recognizing her talent. Ningshu was a lawyer. Elder Sister Li first gave Ningshu a small case to let Ningshu practice and slowly take on bigger cases in the future. Ningshu gladly accepted Elder Sister Li's arrangement. Although she could take on bigger cases, she still had to take it slow. These cases were all part of her experience. The more cases she won, the better. When Ningshu went to court for the first time, Elder Sister Li was listening from the gallery. There was once when he was the second male lead and had fought countless cases. As for going to court, Ningshu was not nervous at all. However, she still treated it seriously. It was still very easy to win a small case. After the trial ended, Elder Sister Li said to Ningshu, "Our law firm's lawyers have a gathering tonight. You should go too." "Okay." Ningshu nodded. She knew that she had entered the law firm's lawyer circle. Ningshu went to the gathering at night. Elder Sister Li introduced Ningshu to the law firm's lawyers. Ningshu had settled down in the law firm. She returned the rented apartment in the suburbs and found a new apartment that was close to the law firm. She did not have to waste time running back and forth every day. After that, Ningshu received a few more cases and won all of them. Elder sister Li arranged a personal office for Ning Shu. Ning Shu could be considered to have her own territory. In this office, once the door was closed, she could do whatever she wanted. The female employees who said bad things about Ning Shu were now just clerks. When it was their turn to carry documents for Ning Shu, they would look at Ning Shu strangely every time they saw her. Chapter 956. After fighting a few lawsuits, Ning Shu's money gradually increased. His life also became richer. When he had nothing to do, he would go to lawyer websites to be a free legal consultant to increase his reputation. It was the age of the internet. When people encountered problems, they would go online to find answers. There would be lawyers to answer for them. Ning Shu would only go to the law firm's gatherings once in a while. It was inconvenient to have a child by his side. Sister Li did not force Ning Shu as she knew that Ning Shu had to take care of the child. However, Sister Li still wanted Ning Shu to go to some important gatherings. Ning Shu would leave Nan Nan in the nursery for a few hours. When the banquet ended, Ning Shu would bring the child back. Ning Shu's previous lawsuit was given by Sister Li. However, in the future, he would have to find clients himself. Therefore, Ning Shu would bring a stack of business cards whenever he attended a banquet. If someone wanted to consult him about the law, Ning Shu would generously tell them the solution and calculate the outcome of the lawsuit. Sometimes, people would just consult him and might not give him the order. Ning Shu did not mind. Perhaps they would look for him the next time. No matter which industry one lived in, life was not easy. The difference between being born and living was whether it was comfortable or not. A job that did not provide enough material goods would also make one feel happy. If one could not feel both, then there was no need to continue working. During the rest of the working hours, Ning Shu would accompany Nan Nan. Now Nan Nan could call for her mother. She was white and tender, and looked very cute. Sister Li seemed to like Nan Nan. Every time she came to visit Nan Nan, she would bring some small things for Nan Nan. During the weekends, when there was nothing to do, Sister Li and Ning Shu would go shopping. They would rush into the mall to buy things and try on clothes one after another. If not, they would buy clothes for Nan Nan. This kind of little girl was very cute when she dressed up. Sister Li was very willing to spend money. Every time, she would buy a lot of branded items. In her words, she earned so much money to spend. Ning Shu smiled. She had also spent money on 2 sets of rather expensive clothes and bags. She now had the ability to do so. Secondly, in the legal profession, she came into contact with rich and powerful people. It was basic etiquette to dress neatly and comfortably. After shopping, the two of them went for a beauty treatment. They spent their own money and lived a comfortable life. Elder sister Li said that instead of hoping to marry a good man, it was better to be realistic and earn more money to live comfortably. Ning Shu agreed. It was said that it was better to marry well than to do well. The problem was whether she could meet a good man. Many women would meet scumbags again and get hurt over and over again. Sometimes, one could not help but cruelly say that birds of a feather flock together. How could there be so much loneliness and coldness? It was just that they could not stand the loneliness. Ning Shu was not the lawyer who received the most orders in the company, but his winning rate was the highest. He basically won all the cases he received. Sometimes, elder sister Li would pass a relatively important case to Ning Shu, and then the two of them would discuss it repeatedly. Law firms actually made money from some big business cases, and some divorce cases of rich families. Those were all big scenes of ripping each other's legs. Ning Shu had been in this city for more than 2 years. He had slowly established a foothold in this city. 2 years was quite short. Ning Shu could be considered to be cheating. Using his previous skills as a lawyer, it was not important to be a lawyer again. However, it was fortunate that he had learned these things. Perhaps these things were useless in the eyes of others, but it could play a huge role in the future. Just like this mission. If he did not have the skills of a lawyer, he was afraid that he would not be able to live so peacefully. Ning Shu had a lot of money in his bag now. He had not finished spending the 100,000 yuan that the Yin family gave him. Ning Shu planned to buy a house here. He could only settle down with a house. However, It was difficult to buy a house. He would put the matter of buying a house aside. Elder sister Li asked Ning Shu to pay the down payment first. In the future, the monthly payment would be much easier. Ning Shu took out the 100,000 yuan that the Yin family gave him previously. Together with the money that he earned in the past 2 years, he could pay the down payment. Elder sister Li asked Ning Shu if he did not have enough money. If he did not have enough money, he could lend it to her. Ning Shu shook her head. She had her eyes on a small apartment. This small apartment was very small, but it was enough for her and her child to live. Although the apartment was small, the price was still very high due to the geographical location. Ning Shu paid the down payment and got the property certificate. Her household registration was also moved to this city. With debt on him, Ning Shu had to work harder. He took on 2 more cases every month. Gradually, clients came to Ning Shu to file a lawsuit. For some cases that had a very low winning rate or almost no winning rate, Ning Shu would not accept it. He could not break his reputation of having a high winning rate. Moreover, some cases were obviously wrong and illegal. There was no need to waste time. After staying in this city for almost 3 years, Ning Shu planned to go back when the Chinese New Year was coming. In these few years, Ning Shu did not contact Chen Ning's family. So what if he contacted them? At most, he would drag them back into the mud again and spend a few years trying to work hard. After not going back for a long time, Ning Shu still planned to go back. Because the Chinese New Year was approaching, the flights were more crowded. Ning Shu had a hard time buying a ticket. Holding Nan Nan and standing in the familiar city again, Ning Shu let out a long breath. Then he found a hotel to put down his things. He went to the mall to buy some gifts before going to the Chen family. Ning Shu carried big and small bags in one hand, and held Nan Nan's hand with the other. Nan Nan was already 3 years old. Soon, she would be able to go to kindergarten. Ning Shu pressed the doorbell. After pressing it a few times, the door did not open. Ning Shu was very bad and kept pressing it. "Coming, you're rushing me." A young woman opened the door. Her hair was dyed yellow. Her hair was messy. She was wearing a bloated pajama and slippers. This should be her sister-in-law. Ning Shu's mouth twitched. Ning Shu was sizing up the other party. The other party was also sizing up Ning Shu. She looked at Ning Shu from top to bottom. The more she looked, the brighter her eyes became. This woman was wearing famous brands. Her eyes were fixed on Ning Shu's bag. She coughed and asked, "Please, who are you looking for?" Ning Shu did not ignore her wolf-like eyes. He handed the bag to her. "I am your sister-in-law. Carry this." Ning Shu walked in and took off his shoes. The woman was still staring at the shoes that Ning Shu took off. "Sister-in-law." The woman froze for a moment. She did not dare to recognize her. It was not that she did not hear that there was a woman in the Chen family. However, after the divorce, she left and never contacted her. This woman wearing famous brands was her husband's sister? The woman was so excited that she almost jumped up. With so many famous brands on her, she must be very rich. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.